Push it. I thought you
They
pushed
are
it as
rude,
being
like,
all
find the
nice.
button. You couldn't
I
find
was
it.
being
do
all
that.
polite for like. You think I would have?
It is-
I would have sworn a whole lot more if I'd known.
Hey,
Yeah,
with such,
it's-
with
Hey,
such
check out my cup, by
Stargate
the way.
royalty, I would never do such
Oh,
a thing. David.
nice.
I would
Isn't that
never do
nice?
such a thing.
Oh, what'd you get?
My new mug.
You dumpster.
Oh, yeah.
A trash
And
Trash
this-
Panda, I dig it.
It's actually perfect because I just spent the morning. This was fun. The entire front. We have like this lovely little patio space up on the top floor that we never go to because who has time to go outside? It's a whole family of raccoons moved in. Like literally, they're like lying on the deck chair. They're like they're under the.
Wow.
They've torn up this piece of cardboard and turned it into like this litter and this. So there's just stuff everywhere. Let's just say
that's
droppings.
great.
Should we say? So I went out today and I did the detox. I just like cleaned it all out. So I am not as big a fan of tech of the trash bandits as I was earlier.
You should be like that one guy on YouTube who's really famous. You've probably seen him before, Ox, where he like sits out there with a giant box of hot dogs and he feeds like 100 raccoons that are on his porch. Have you seen that?
Yeah,
It's some dude like in Canada, and I swear there's like 100 raccoons on his porch, and they all are just like climbing on him and on his shoulders. It's like reminds me of like the cat lady from Simpsons.
yeah.
And he
They're
just
not.
feeds them hot dogs.
They're just not good pets. I mean, I love raccoons. I think they're beautiful looking things, but they are foul. Like their deposits are like will kill people.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
You
I
know
know.
what's
I
gonna
know
get
you
echo?
have to be really careful with like bites and scratches from them because they carry like rabies and like a bunch of other like really unsavorables. But
Well, and pregnant women, like forget it. God knows
Yeah.
what you're gonna birth if you start.
yeah, fun fact though, growing up, we actually did treat them like pets. Like I used to go out on my front porch and just sit down, and they'd come and get in my lap, and I'd hand feed them. And
Really?
oh yeah, and then we found a bunch of baby raccoons curled up in the middle of our driveway one day because we lived on 65 acres. We were out in the middle of the woods basically,
Right.
and
right.
so we found all these raccoons cuddled together, and we found what we assume was their mom, like dead on the highway, like a couple hundred feet away. And so we picked up the babies and brought them home, and they ended up thinking our little dog that we had was their mama. So they would just follow this dog around endlessly, and the dog could not escape them. Anywhere the dog could go, these guys could go like no
Yeah,
problem,
yeah.
right?
Right.
And so the dog finally just submitted and was like, fine, I guess I'm your mom, and just laid down
Your
and just
mom.
let him like crawl around her and everything. But we
Aw.
kept them for about 3 weeks, bottle fed a couple of them because they weren't quite on solid food. And then after like 3 weeks, they just started like destroying the house and like tearing everything apart.
Oh my
like,
God,
literally
yeah.
everything. So we called like an animal like rehabilitation center out in Shelton, Washington. And they're like, oh yeah, bring them on by. And we packed them up and we took them over there and they released them in a habitat with about 1 million other like maimed and abandoned raccoons that can't return to the wild.
Huh.
And so it was pretty cool to see. Like I could not believe how many raccoons they had like in this habitat. It's like obvious this happens like to quite a few
All the
people.
time.
So
Well, and you don't want to kill them, right? I mean, like if
Yeah.
people come by, we get raccoons in the attic all the time. So you just have people come by and put them in a cage and take them out to the woods somewhere. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
cottage,
yeah,
So they can go live in someone's cottage roof instead.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, that's the people do shit like that though. It's like, oh, I found a really dangerous snake in my neighborhood. I'm gonna take it out to nature and release it. And it's like they take it out to nature and release it, and it's like found in a toilet, like attacking children in a nature toilet, like 100 yards
10
away.
times the size that it was.
Or
Turns out that
somebody-
wasn't. Yeah.
Oh, I was watching a YouTube video where somebody thought that pythons, like in Florida or something, somebody who just moved there thought that these pythons, which are an invasive species there, right? They thought that their like native habitat was like the sewer. Like I don't know, they must have watched too much Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So they literally went and threw it like in one of those storm drains on the side of the road, like this 8-foot python, and the thing actually went up like somebody's toilet and like came out of somebody's toilet while they were like taking a dump.
Wow. I have just poured my coffee everywhere. Hang on.
Oh
one second.
no!
Yeah.
Oh no! Hewlett down.
Because here's the thing about the square shaped cups is that they're very easy to knock over. It
Yeah.
seems.
Oh.
Let me go grab some paper towel.
Oh,
And
no.
you guys talk amongst yourselves.
Oh no.
Poor David.
Oops.
Hopefully it wasn't like McDonald's coffy hot. Oh,
Damn.
God, it burns.
No, that's
It's
the
like
mess,
sun.
man. Just like a dribble of that stuff, man. It gets everywhere. I had just got coffee from like the coffee shop, and I was making a turn out of their drive, and like it's a full cup, it's got a lid, sure. And I just took the turn maybe a little too too tight, and it comes slopping out of the mouthpiece.
Oh,
And
no.
man, it gets all over the center console and into the cracks and stuff. And I got crumbs in the cup holder and stuff. And now it's like a weird cement down there. I'm gonna have a pain in the butt cleaning out my car.
I think I'm gonna be getting rid of my Magic the Gathering mouse pad at this point.
Oh no!
Yeah, it's a kingdom of coffee.
No,
man.
you sign it and then put it on eBay.
Oh my gosh, you are a genius.
Yeah. I might have licked it too.
See, hey, even better.
There you go.
Whoa, guys,
There you go.
I
That's
have
it.
something that just happened that is like remarkable and magical and shit.
Whoa. What happened, man?
Stream Elements bot is
Yeah.
actually working on YouTube right now.
No.
Wait, what?
What
I
does that
kid
even
you
mean?
not, I'm looking at the activity feed, which is always empty on Stream Elements. Because remember the bug I told you
Yeah.
about, right? Where you have to
Yeah.
delete your account and recreating it. Eric G just sent a $5 super chat, and it literally showed up in the activity feed. You know what this means?
What does it
We
mean?
can have shit pop up on the screen.
We can have it pop
Oh.
up on the screen.
Are we past the limit for cussing? I forgot. This is my safe space, so I
I
talk like I
spilled my
normally
coffee
talk.
Yeah, no,
and I
fuck
didn't
shit,
swear.
balls.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Ain't
come
it?
on. I just spilled my coffee. I could have gone ballistic. Instead, I'm like, oh dear. I seem to have knocked over my beverage. Let me
Screams
just rush
vagina.
along and get
How
a
long
paper
have you
towel.
been in Canada? I think
Oh, dude,
maybe
get
it's
that
rubbing
thing
off on you there.
Yeah. So, I see this spilled my coffee,
Let me
Oh,
tell you about
darn.
the
Mother,
boats.
It's
All
gone
right.
everywhere, A boots and a bouts and a hoose and a, and a moose.
Would it cost you a couple toonies to get the coffee?
Yeah.
Or is it toonies or loonies?
Loonies are
Jesus,
one
mother
or a
of
dollar
God.
coin. Toonies are a $2 coin. I just heard this
Yeah.
on a
It's so lame.
video earlier.
I am learning
Looney Tunes.
things. I am
cool.
learning things today
That's so
and stuff
cool.
and things. All right, I'm gonna do it, guys. I'm adding it. I'm adding an overlay
I'm so
because
stoked.
for the first
you've
time.
got, it's a loon on the coin, right? That's why they became loonies. Right? Yeah.
I didn't
Oh,
realize.
that's right. A Luna's a like.
Look
a
at that!
duck
Look
or
at all
something,
these
right?
subscribers.
Hold on, guys. Wait until the overlays. Wait until the overlay.
Look
Oh, wait a second. I got to bring it up. Or should I
Look
just
here.
pour coffee on it? Wait a second.
It'll just be on the live stream if I can ever remember how to do
That's
it because
so
it's been so
funny.
long. So I think I got to.
We're on
browser
YouTube,
source.
though, aren't we? Okay, let me have
We
a
are.
look. All right,
We are. All right. So I can go browser source. I'm going to dump this in. Hold on here. Okay, I'm adding the
All these
overlay.
people subbing to the channel. That's cool.
Oh,
dude,
they're
I'm
actually-
stoked. This
oh,
is
they
great.
We
are.
be subbing.
It's in the chat. It's in the chat at least.
Okay, hold on.
Banned myself from coffee near the computer. I've lost too many keyboards.
I
Oh,
know. I should totally
Okay.
be doing that. And I always say to myself, well, that's it. It's the last time I bring a drink.
it's
All right,
it's-
I'm putting the overlay in the center here. Let's see.
But
if
I
it
can't talk to
works.
these guys without caffeine.
No, you have
Oh,
to
I
have
know, right?
caffeine. That's a requirement of this show,
Yeah.
actually.
There
If you
go.
don't drink
Look at
coffee,
that,
you're not
look at
actually
that.
allowed to be here.
We're getting our overlays.
Yeah, look at this. Oh
I
my
wanna
We're gonna
see
get
some- I wanna see
fireworks
some-
and shit. This is gonna be great.
dude,
Let me
this
just
is gonna,
mute this.
It's gonna be
Let's
the
get a
greatest
photo.
thing ever. So, wait.
And then I have
hold
my giant jug of water.
All right, I think I'm figuring this out. Here, how do I
That's
hide?
only-
72 ounce mega gulp.
Okay, I'm gonna hide that. I'm gonna hide some stuff. Okay, hiding that. Hiding
My internet sucks. Jesus, my internet sucks.
that. What kind of speeds do you get on your internet?
I mean, it was quite good, I thought, but I think someone's backing up or something. There's gonna be some crap going on. You wait. I can see us fine, but then when I go to the actual stream on YouTube, it's like forget it. I'll just be here cleaning up the coffee. You talk
no
about
wor-
yourself.
No worries, man. You go. Hey,
Yeah.
clean up coffee is part of Tech Talk, man. Okay,
That was a wireless keyboard, but there you go.
Ew.
Look at that. That is saturated.
Gross. You are a disgusting man. A disgusting,
know.
disgusting
Revolting.
man.
That was damn it. I was using that for. I've installed Linux on my little laptop on my old iPad. No, old Mac
Mac
Pro.
Mini? Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
beautiful, just
Nice.
beautiful.
Look
I mean,
at
because
you.
it can't run the Mac OS anymore because it's too old for Mac OS. So you put the Linux on it. It's freaking gorgeous. It's
I know
gorgeous.
old Apple trying to
Man.
what do they call that? Planned obsolescence
Up
or
there,
whatever.
right? Upsell
Yeah.
it. Oh, it
Man.
looks like darn, your computer doesn't run the new software that we built for you not to run on your old computer.
All right,
just-
guys, we have successfully done it. We now have an overlay that will pop up on
Okay.
super chats
Somebody-
after all these years.
Okay, let me see.
Somebody
The next
is
super
there a
chat, yep.
is there a minimum
I don't.
I
think
was
so.
there when.
like for it to pop or
I
just
don't
any
think
of them?
so. Let me see here. Hold on. Let me click on it and see if there's any conditions. I don't believe there is. Here go settings.
We don't need
Somebody-
no
somebody
stinking
drop a
Okay.
dollar.
Subscriber alert, member alert, super chat alert, and tip alert. Although we don't
Cool.
have like a tip button yet. We got to figure that one out. Like where it's like the PayPal me thing.
Oh, sure.
let's see what else we got here. So yeah, no,
What do you prefer? Do you prefer Twitch to YouTube still, or what's your?
Well, I keep them separate because like they're completely different things that I do. So I use it kind of like a barrier because like on Twitch it's like no holds barred and I'll literally say and talk about anything no matter how bad it triggers people. And over here on YouTube, I always go with co-hosts and talk about technology, mostly, not always, but mostly.
Oh yeah, no, we're always talking about technology.
Yeah, I mean we talk a little tech.
We might talk about one topic in the title.
Hey, we just talked about like installing Linux on Macs, man. We're basically
Hey, that's total tech. Yeah, what am I talking about?
Yeah, we're basically white hat hackers here, guys.
I love how David is cleaning this up in the middle of an earthquake and isn't even noticing. It's just the whole joint's just rocking and rolling. And
he's like, oh my God, California.
It's an earthquake and flood.
He did live in California for a while there, Ox. So he's probably
just boring to me. Yeah.
He's like, this is just what we do here, man. It's no big deal. Oh God, we're all gonna die.
This week only.
Props for the Bear Dynamic Headphone top left guy. That's me. I'm top left guy. And they're DT 770s.
Yeah, I knew they were, dude. Those are like
hands down so I've only owned a few headphones in my time, and these are my most favorites so far.
I've never heard them. I have the 330s, the 300s. Those are my two Bear Dynamic headsets, and I've never heard the 770s, but everybody says the 770s are like legendary.
I worked with a few decibel nerds, guys who drop like $1,000 on fucking headphones. Like they got like Purple Heart wood cups and shit. Like
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Nuts. Okay. These guys are like hardcore audiophiles. And I was like, look, I've got maybe $150-200 and I want a nice pair of headphones. I'm not like you guys. I'm not like you, right? But this is what I got. What's the best thing to do? And they're like, you can't really get better at that price point. And I paid 110, 115. They were used technically, like open box on Amazon.
Doesn't matter.
The 250 ohm ones, so they're like the cheaper.
Yeah.
But the 80, I think the 80 ohm ones are around 240 or something. But they're great.
They charge more for the easier to drive ones. That kind of surprises me.
I thought it was the other way around.
Yeah,
I thought because they're 250, you needed that extra power to. I don't know. I've plugged these into my cell phone back in the day, and they work. So I don't know what the deal is.
They're probably the 80s, or they're probably the 80s then, because if they were the 220s, you'd have a really hard time driving them with a phone.
It says 250 ohm on the side.
Oh, really? And they sound okay on the phone? I lost you, Ox. Your mic isn't working.
Mine is.
Wait. Oh, now I can hear you. Wait.
Yeah.
What the hell's going on here? Hold on. Oh, maybe I was looking at the wrong video preview. Hey, did the pop-ups come up?
Yeah, I saw them.
Yes. So now we can properly thank the people. Eric, thank you for another $2 to testing out the overlays. That's officially the first overlay in forever. Devlin 42, thank you the €5, man. You are awesome. And Bob Face, great name by the way. Everybody loves a Bob Face. Thank you for the £2. Said overlay test afternoon from North Yorkshire. He's from the Shire. I have a question. What is a shire? Why is shire on the end of everything? Like in the UK, why is everything a shire?
Would it just make it sound fancy or something? I mean,
is it like a fancy word? Like I
think it's just village. Does it just mean village or part of something else or something? Isn't it?
Okay. Maybe.
Oh, here we go. I'm looking it up.
It always makes stuff sound like really proper and like I live in.
It always sounds Hobbit to me.
So it's
just a county.
It's a county.
Yeah. Oh, it's just a fancy county word. Okay.
In regard to strongholds of traditional rural culture.
Historically, the land ruled by a count or countess, while shire is former administrative area of Britain.
Oh, interesting.
So Warwickshire is where Jane's dad's place is, and apparently that's like rural Midlands. That's basically it's that hood. It's my hood.
Everything's about titles over there.
I know. It's like they love their class. They love their class system.
I always like the joke that so highfalutin English folk will be like, "Oh, I'm like 302nd in line for the crown," and it's like if a million people died, I could be king.
Yeah. If you were to go on a shooting spree, you might actually make it. Yeah.
If all the designated survivors die, I will for one day.
And what good would that be anyway these days? Like, come on.
Yeah. What is
I mean, they're just like it's like It's like having a country celebrity, like a national celebrity.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, my wife loves them, and I just don't understand it at all. I don't know. Maybe it's my father has instilled a complete and utter distrust. Although my grandparents, every freaking jubilee or wedding, or we get cups and coins and all sorts of collectibles. So we're going to be worth a fortune, I'm sure.
That's like your retirement
At
plan.
some point.
Yeah, that's my retirement. My retirement plan my retirement plan now is comic books. I think.
Yeah.
I just got given
Pokemon
a box
cards
of
and shit.
6. Yeah, and Pokemon cards. I just got given a box of 6, like 6 boxes of old like Superman and New Titans, and none of them are worth that much, but they're just. I'm like, this is so much fun. I'm like cataloging them. I've got like software, and I'm clicking them off, and
You're like, I got a man on the inside now. I must collect them all.
That's it. I'm like, Baz, what do you think? What do you think you can get for this? Yeah.
You're like your kid's first job. You're like, how does it benefit me though?
Oh, for sure.
Dude, I'm living vicariously through my son. He could care less, I'm sure, about the comic book store, but I'm like, oh, you work at a comic book store. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I never got to be a comic book nerd.
That's it.
Made me sad.
I've actually been doing some web stuff for them because I know Baz wanted to do it, and just hasn't done it before. So I've actually started doing some web stuff with him, which is kind of fun. Father and son web design.
Aw.
Dad's it finished yet? Finished yet?
Oh, drag and drop, man, drag and drop. It's where it's at.
Yeah, no, that's great, Dad. Talk to you in a second. I'm just in the middle of a game.
Hey, Mind Pods, thank you for the $5. Instead of $5 for the overlay gods. Glad Stream Elements finally fixed the bug. You know what's funny? They didn't send me any notification anywhere saying that they fixed this. The only reason I noticed it is because I log into Stream Elements for my Twitch channel, and then all of a sudden I noticed the activity feed, which is normally empty, had one thing in it, and it's always been empty for YouTube. Always.
I bet you that it wasn't actually like something they were attempting to fix. It was probably as a part of some other update. It just like refreshed your account or something, and it's like
totally. Somebody in the background was like, "Oh man, I better revert that code. That's full of bugs," and it just goes back to when it was fixed.
Hey, right on.
Hey,
that's a
Thank you guys so much. Oh, thank you, Doug.
That's a good overlay. I like that.
I like that one too. Yeah.
This
looks like a road sign is coming down. An old-fashioned road sign is dropping from above.
Did you poo here?
Like
Must be
the old
Saturday.
timies. Here, can I make it bigger?
$10. Holy moly!
I know, right?
Can I make this thing like way big? Here, how do I make it like bigger? Ladies. Let's see here. Okay, width. Oh, I can do width and height, but does that change the size of the thing?
That's the debate.
That's what everybody wants to know. Here,
what are we talking about today? We're going to talk about new. Oh yeah, we got fusion. That's nice.
Yeah,
yes.
We love talking about the fusion. So, and we're going to talk about the space. I just couldn't fit it in the title.
Oh my god! Like talk about a space drama.
Oh yeah, I knew nothing about this. Cool. So actually, if you guys want to start with this, I didn't even have a chance to read this one. Yeah. So, but all I saw was David saying it was intentional.
No, I was goofing.
No, you were goofing. Okay,
goofing, but it was the first thing I thought. I was like, well, if they want to win the space race, they just sort of attach a capsule to the ISS and like hit go.
Breaks.
All right, so if you guys haven't been paying attention, a couple of weeks ago there was a Russian module docking with the International Space Station, and it decided to go all fidget spinner on us. And it actually was like a tense butt like puckering moment for the International Space Station, because remember, they have like a finite amount of fuel and stuff. Like if it starts spinning too far out of control and they can't get it back, it's like bye space station. So they did
it's
get
not
it back.
Designed for maneuverability.
Yeah, not really. It's like basically got like the bare minimum to like hold its orbit, right? So this all I remember from it was that the Russian module or whatever had a thruster that like shorted out and fired that they couldn't control, and by the time they got it back under control, they were basically in an uncontrolled spin.
Well, didn't they like rebooted and the system went, oh my god, we're flying, and hit the thrusters?
Oh, is that what happened?
Right off, right off the bat. So they docked, and then I guess when the system like re-upped itself or whatever, it set this thing off. But all of the drama around it though is fascinating, because they were supposed to have 3 cosmonauts go up, or whatever they call them in Russia, and then at the last minute, they pulled 2 of them and put in 2 other guys. One of them is a director, and the other one's like a cameraman, and they're making a movie on that capsule. That's why they were. So all this stuff has gone wrong since the camera crew's been up there making a movie.
Oh, so they're doing the whole like reality TV thing where they just sabotage and stuff on purpose for the camera?
Well, no, I'm sure that wasn't like. I'm sure that, but there is a part of me that goes like, like there's a big space race on right now.
Yeah.
I mean, Russia is a part of the space station, though, isn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a big part of it. Yeah.
So I mean, it's probably not in their best interest to take it down, but at the same time, you go like, oh dear, all of America's hopes for space exploration has just like disappeared into the atmosphere. It couldn't hurt them if they've got their own. It's probably China hacking the Russian space software.
Aren't they trying to do their own space station?
They have their own space station.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
But you know what the irony is? Their space station is in an orbit that the Cosmodrome in Russia can't reach.
The Tiangong. Yeah.
So basically, the Chinese created a space station that pretty much only them and like one other nation can go to. Like everybody else is basically can't because you can't carry like enough fuel to like get in the orbit and chase it down, and it would take too long. So, but it's funny because it's like Russia and China, they're basically like allies. So China's going to put up a space station that Russia can't get to, and I was like, okay, that seems weird, but they don't really have any other options.
That is neat though. So it was the only orbit they could get
there somehow.
Like China's in the suburbs of the orbits. Is that?
Well, yeah, no. It has something to do with like the angle, not the like how high it is, but like the angle that the space station's on in order to launch and like catch up with it, like we do. Like we launch at an angle and we basically sneak up behind the space station.
Right.
Like because China's space station is like on like this completely different trajectory. If we launched from like Texas or the Cosmodrome, or like Cape Canaveral or whatever, we would have to like expend an insane amount of fuel and time to like get in their orbit and creep up on them. So it's like something like that. But it's not, it's like something that, we literally wouldn't do. So this Chinese space station is pretty much only going to be occupied by people that launch from China. Or I think there was another place too that they said another country they could launch, but they don't even have launch capabilities. So it's like, that's kind of a moot point. But yeah, so it doesn't make their space station like incredibly useful to like the international community.
To anyone except them. Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't care because they're not allowed on the International Space Station anyways. So they're like, whatever.
Why are they not allowed on the space station? They just didn't.
Chinese sons of bitches.
They're gonna steal all our technology, man.
Well, I think because
Russia are so friendly.
Because they're not partnered. They're not. They didn't help out with it at all. So they're not, they don't.
Well, plus I think it has to do with them like not following like the established space rules or whatever that we have. Like they're doing something. Yeah, they're not a part of the treaty or whatever, so they're not allowed on the International Space Station. It's like it's like if you get up on the bus and run around and smack people, you're not allowed to get on the bus.
Right, oh snap! Right. Yeah, so it looks like it says here when was China banned from the ISS in 2011? Congress passed a law requiring NASA to get congressional approval before partnering with China, as well as having the FBI certify that the cooperation would not jeopardize national security. The act essentially banned China from the ISS, but it did little to slow the country's progress in space.
But what about Russia, for God's sake?
I know, right?
I mean, why are we? But we're okay with like. As far as I'm concerned, space. Let's all just get together and have like giant hugs. That's fine. Like, let's not. I'd rather that we didn't bring this freaking country nonsense into this massive, limitless thing that is space. Let's stop dividing it up as we get further and further out. But
I agree.
A bunch of people keep saying that it's because they didn't invest anything into it, but that's not really true because we allow other countries on the International Space Station to run their experiments and stuff that didn't put $1 into the damn thing.
So it comes to security. It's a national security thing. They just don't want them to.
If you've ever watched the tours, like the tours, the Russians have like full run of the space station too. It's not like the Americans have like their super secret module you got to scan your retina to get into.
Right.
No, they all have like unlimited access. Like the Russians are always in the US module. Hell, when the Dragon
I would think there'd still be
the Russians were in it in like 5 minutes, like laughing on camera and like looking at shit and poking buttons and stuff. So
I would think there would still be some sections where you're like, this is our spot, like don't come in here, just like I don't know.
I mean, not according to Hadfield. Chris Hadfield, the commander.
Yeah,
like he's the commander, right? The Russians even have to listen to him. He is like commander of the entire thing. He's like, yeah, everybody up here like as friends, like we don't do the whole
not enough space.
Yeah, we don't do the whole war thing like we do on the ground. Like up here, we're all friends. But I don't think they're doing anything. Now they're probably not telling them what the experiments are. Like I'm sure the Russians come over and they see like some plant growing in a box and they're like, "Oh, what are you doing there?" And they're like, "Oh, we're growing a plant," but they're really like growing uranium or some yellow cake uranium tree. But they don't really know
alien,
what's going on.
Alien floating.
Exactly. Yeah. They don't know each other's like experiments and goals and stuff. But it's such a small, compact space, and there's no like security airlocks in between, like other than like, you know, you shut them if you got a hole in the side of the space station, but it's really open. It's an open space and everybody can go everywhere. So it's like, what are you going to do? Put like tape a piece of paper over something, say, don't look, and like expect the rush. And like, you know, when Dimitri's like flying by, he's not going to like rip it up and peek underneath it. Like, come on.
It's going to change though, right? I mean, I think we're like, it's heating up. Like we're at that point now where there's enough, like there are corporations involved. There's a lot of money involved now. There's actually potential to make money and settle on other planets and stuff.
Hey,
I'm sure that we're going to start dividing it up. You wait. We suck at this stuff.
Yeah, right. Oh man, it'll be very interesting. Like commercial space stations or space hotels and stuff, and like, yeah.
Well, look at those. Like this whole incident. The idea that like some film was like, you know what? Screw your astronauts. I want to throw. We're gonna bring our film crew up, and we'll pay you X amount of dollars, and it'll be the first movie ever shot in space. And
yeah, I think Tom Cruise is still on track to be the first like civilian shooting a movie, like the first actor in space.
Dang.
Really? Because for like one of the Mission Impossible movies, I think it is, he's supposed to like shoot some of the scenes on the International Space Station and go up via the Dragon capsule.
Nice.
Huh.
So I don't know what the timeline is.
That makes so much more sense financially than just faking it.
You know what? Which is what the expensive as technology is right now because of the pandemic. It probably is just cheaper to go to the International Space Station and film it.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that Elon Musk is already like working? I guess he leaked it himself, but he's already working on the next version of Starship that's like 90 meters across. Did you see this?
Cool.
No.
So apparently it's going to see.
I thought he was doing the Android thing. I thought he had a whole freaking
that guy's like got bad like ADHD, man. He is all over the map. Like every 3 days he's inventing something new, and then like 1 out of 5 things succeeds, but it's okay because it succeeds so spectacularly that the other 4 don't even matter. Like nobody's like, oh, what happened to that vacuum tube thing or the Hyperloop? Or nobody cares. Like he sold that idea off to like Richard Branson to worry about. And they're doing so well with it too.
You want to buy a vacuum tube? Sure.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when space flight is easier than making like a tube that you suck the air out of on Earth. You know, it's like it really.
Well, I'm sure a lot of it's legislation too, right? I mean, I'd be curious to know what, you know, how much sort of control there is over this stuff. And the different areas. Like I'm sure Elon Musk does not work well with, as we know from his Twitter, with the you know, with the stock commission and stuff.
Yeah,
you know, he's not big on
rules.
He's
a terrible micromanager too, man. Have you ever seen like the videos of him like walking the floor at like Tesla? It's like the employees are like, oh my God, there's Elon Musk, work harder, work faster. Like he is one of those guys where it's like he expects everybody to work as hard as he does. And he just never stops working. Like, I don't even know. Does he ever see his family? He lives in like a tiny home out in the desert next to the Starbase or whatever. So it's like, okay, do you do anything other than work? And he'll be the first to tell you, like, no, that's like all he does is work.
Why would he? Yeah.
So it's like that's his thing, right? It's not even a money thing. The dude's already like the richest guy in the world or something like that. Like he doesn't have to worry about money ever. I'm sure he's put away enough that he could lose everything and still live 100 lifetimes. So, you know,
that was one of the complaints they were saying was that like when you've got that kind of money, you need to buy a house, you go, oh, I need a mortgage, and you go into the bank and you say, hey, I want to buy a house. They're like, well, I guess you're good for it. We'll lend you the money. But so he never actually has to spend any of his own money. So he just gets the write-off of a mortgage without ever having. I mean, it's a tiny example, but it's this idea that they have so much money they don't need money. I mean, that they literally don't need money.
Right. That's you're not wrong though, because like it's a matter of at a certain point you start leveraging debt. You just
his credit rating is like
why they don't pay tax.
Yeah,
just
because that debt. I just watched this thing. Somebody was kind of explaining like a real estate investment as if like to a 4-year-old, right? And they're like, okay, so there's this apartment or this house or whatever, and you want to buy this for an investment property. You go to the bank. It's worth $80K or $8, let's say. Yeah. You go to the bank. You borrow. You put down $2 to get. And then the bank gives you the $6 to cover it, to cover the rest. You get your mortgage and stuff, or the rent payments, and give you X amount, like $3 a month. Your mortgage to the bank is $1. After a little while, the property appreciates, so you refinance. You pull. They're going to give you $100 now, and you pull the 20 out, the extra 20 or whatever. And so then you can use that then to buy another property, and you aren't taxed on the debt. Because even though, I mean, that's kind of, my lady and I just did that with our house. We pulled a bunch of equity out and we haven't even been here a year, like, or just shy of a year. Yeah. And there was quite a bit of equity already. And we're not, that doesn't change our situation. We're not taxed on that debt. right?
Hmm.
And we can use that elsewhere. It's kind of interesting.
I'm so old fashioned. I've just been paying it off. I just
well,
like,
no, that's kind of what we did with it. We used it to.
Mhm.
We have nothing left but the house and my student loans.
oh, wow. Student loans. Jesus Christ. I mean, that's insane. That's
little
like hanging
humble
over
brag
you
there.
for-
I feel really good about that.
No, that's great. But it's hilarious how the freaking student loans are still hanging over.
Yeah,
It's like nuts. Education shouldn't be that much
for a bunch of skills that I don't use.
Mm.
Pops makes a good point in chat. He said if you borrow at an interest rate that's lower than the inflation, it's basically free money.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
It'd be a great tool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just my problem
There
is
was
with what I do. It's all freelance, right? So I just don't know. Like if I may
Right.
not work for 2 years, who knows? I mean,
Yeesh,
you know.
yeah.
No, I watch a lot of YouTube videos on these guys that they try to retire like super early by like
The
taking a
fire
bunch of-
stuff.
Yeah, it's like and they'll do stuff like this one guy lives out of his car. I started watching him. He lives out of his Tesla Model 3 Performance. He turned it into like a tiny van kind of thing.
Yeah.
So he still has his house, but now he just has his house full time like rented out in Airbnb.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, renting out his house on Airbnb or whatever, his business that he had, like being a dog walker or whatever, he like gave it to his friend during the summer so that he can like travel for like a percentage of what the guy makes running the business. So now his friends making money and sending him like a percentage of the money from the business. And he just drives around living it. And he's like, oh yeah, I got, basically like 800,000 invested right now because, my cash flow is, $3,000 or $4,000 a month coming in from like the Airbnb, my friend running my business. And he also had some like other tricks he was doing too, where it's like, he would take out money like a loan, but it was like an investment loan, and then he would not invest it in his business. He'd invest it in basically like the stock market somehow. So he's basically like, it's like gambling, right? You're taking out, it's like actually it's no different than like trading in the margin, right? So it's like he takes
that
this
is it,
out,
yeah.
and he's paying such low interest on the loan that he's like, screw it, I'm going to invest it because it's almost a guaranteed 10% return the way he's doing it because he's hedging the whole fund, right?
Mhm.
And he's going across and he like lays the whole thing out in a portfolio or something. He's like, I'm making $7,000 a month driving around in my $90,000 Tesla Performance that I lease on 0% interest in this, and I get free power. So all my heat and all my electricity and watching TV on the screen and everything's free. He's like, all I pay for is like my Starbucks in the morning when he goes out to bars and his food that he eats when he's out and about and stuff. But he's like, I've already made enough money that I've calculated out that with my current spending and everything, I can retire like at 31 years old. And this is a guy that doesn't like
with the worst back on the planet because he's been
Right.
sleeping in a freaking car the entire time.
right.
Hey man,
right.
some of those van conversions are pretty sick.
They are.
Is it a van?
buddy
It's a Tesla van.
No, this is like a
Oh.
Tesla Model 3, but what he did is he puts Model 3, the car.
Yeah.
And what he does is he puts down the back seats flat, and then he made a custom mattress that goes in there all the way to the end of the car with like his pillows and stuff.
Mhm.
And the front of the
Yeah.
car, he has like his cooler down in the passenger footwell plugged
Perfect.
into power, so it's like a freezer fridge combo thing. And he's got like all the RV amenities, although obviously he doesn't have like a toilet or a shower or anything like that in there, although that would be a hell of a thing.
Or a life.
Cool.
Yeah, but he also can like turn sideways and put the passenger seat forward, and he can watch
Right.
TV on the big screen that's on the dashboard. So he watches like Netflix and he plays video games on there. And he's
If I was 20 years
Yeah,
old,
that's so
I'd be
cool.
all over that.
Right?
I'd be
Yeah.
all over that.
well,
Yeah.
he's obviously single, man. You're never gonna sell your
Yeah.
girlfriend or prospective wife on that. Like, hey, do you want to go live in my car? But
Well, the car might be a little tough, but like I
Yeah.
said, like a buddy of mine and his lady did a full conversion on it was like not one of the big mega vans, like 16 passenger
Sprinter?
ones, but like
Like one of those Mercedes things. Those...
kind of, yeah, and
Yeah.
that sort of style. And
I love the idea of that.
you know,
I just don't
they
know if I
got
could do it.
they got the thing, it's about, you gotta have the right mentality and whatnot.
Yeah.
If you got to dig it.
Oh,
part
I was
of
like,
me-
the
part of
thing,
me
I was
would
like,
love
what, they've got
that,
a
man.
tumor? What is the thing?
Oh yeah, the mental state. I
Yeah,
guess.
you got to be.
Yeah.
That's true.
Because I know I would be totally fine I've lived in a 19-foot Winnebago for 2 or 3 years. It was no big deal. I know my lady is not going to be able to do that. She can't.
Yeah, I'm
even-
happy to live in my own filth. I just know that nobody else wants to as well, right? So that's
So,
basically mine. This
it's
is why
like-
Jane never comes down here. It's like she just can't even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh god. It's
Well, my
like the
old boss
basement's
from
flooded. She just pretends it doesn't exist.
So my old boss from Microsoft when I was there bought $150,000 Overland Ford F-350 Econobox van or whatever that was converted into something called a sportsmobile.
Uh-huh.
And it's basically like one of those tiny van things where it has like a toilet, a little shower, a kitchen, like beds down below and up above, all like in this van. It even has a pop top camper on top, so it like gets like
That's
twice
cool.
as tall, and you get like
Yeah.
a second level to it. But it's like literally up on huge swamper tires and low range gearbox, and it's got like a diesel heater in it and stuff because he bought it to cross the like Arctic Circle. Like
Nice.
they'll only let you through a certain checkpoint if you have like, you have to have like, you know, 3 weeks of food, 3 weeks of fuel, satellite phone. There's like all the, and you have to have a vehicle that's like capable of backup systems and backups of backups. But once you meet that requirement, you're allowed to go past this point where it's like, there's nobody to save you.
Yeah.
And people like literally die out there. But he wanted to go on this trip because it's like, there's not many people out there. He said on his entire time crossing, he only saw like 3 other people.
So all in the same giant vehicles.
Yeah, like actually one of them pulled him out. He actually got stuck in a semi, pulled him out. Like an actual semi was driving around up there for whatever reason, probably hauling supplies out to some like remote, you know, thing that's going on out there. And he chained up and like pulled him out of a ditch. And I'm like, man, a ditch that thing can get stuck in? Like, what the hell?
Wow.
Like that vehicle doesn't look like it gets stuck anywhere. It's like literally you have to like climb a ladder to get into the driver's seat. It's like, how did you get that stuck? You know, but I was like, man, people do like to do that. Like just live, you know, and they're comfortable. Like if you look at it, it's got cabinets, it's got storage, it's got solar panels on the roof, it's got a diesel generator, it's got it can run, it's got a big secondary alternator, so when the engine's running, it's got full AC power from just the engine itself. So there's like a million ways for it to make power, right? So as long as you're somewhere where there's sun or you have access to any kind of burnable fuel. And I think he even had a kerosene heater too as a backup. Nice. So like you got the diesel heater, which is like integrated in the vehicle, and then you got like a little kerosene heater that runs on like camp fuel. So because you have to have like triple backups or something like that. But yeah, he went by himself.
That's fucking cool, man.
That was his trip when we were working at Microsoft.
Yeah, I love the sound of that.
It's like, I mean, it'd be fun but if I got stuck, I'd be like shitting a brick, right? Because like helicopters don't even go out there. It's like you're not gonna have a very good reception. Hey, I want to get to some of these super chats.
Yeah, man, we've been getting like, great. Thank you guys so much.
You guys have been awesome today. It turns out that putting notifications up on the screen actually does make people happy. So we will keep doing that. Let's see here. Doug, thank you for the $5 Canadian. He said, here's 2 toonies. Caribous? Caribous?
4 caribou? Caribous?
Caribous? Is it caribous? Oh, caribous. All right, there we go. So 4 caribous. Got it. So 2 toonies is 4 caribous. Oh my God. Like
he made that up.
Okay, good. Because I'm really getting confused about your monetary system up there, David.
We make it up as we go along.
We make it up. Well, it's okay. We do for most things down here too. Barry, thank you for the $10 super chat. He said, "Hey guys, Bitchy Poo here. Great name, by the way." He said, "It must be Saturday morning, losing track of the days. Thanks for being here." You know what? I really never know when it's like the weekend or the weekday. Ever since this like COVID thing started, and it's like you don't really go out or do anything with anybody. And they were like my calendar, like, when I go out with these people, I know that they're off work on the weekend, so it must be a Saturday or Sunday. Now I have like no landmarks to tell me like what day it is. So sometimes I'll literally be off by like 3 or 4 days. I've done that before. I wake up and I'm like, is it Thursday? No, it's Monday. What? Like,
I find time is just moving at this weird kind of like sort of, it almost feels like a sewage thing where it's like it goes and then it stops and it goes and it like it's
Are you saying that time is constipated and not regular?
Time is like, it's got this kind of constipated sewage quality to it, is my take on it.
Oh, grodies. Hey, Eric G, thank you for the $25. That is so wildly beyond generous, my friend. He said, not to change the subject. It's okay. You can change the subject for $25.
Yeah.
He said, but he said, but I have a tech question. He said, what hardware would you guys recommend for a small computer? Oh, this is right up AuxxZillary. A small computer that I can have on my rig that won't die after a year. And by rig, he's talking about his big rig truck.
Oh, dude. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of questions.
What are you doing with it?
There's a few questions, I should say.
Like,
what's your goal? Like, I did respond to that in the chat, and I may have missed his response back to me. I would love to have a conversation with you about that. I feel like it would have to be like, I don't think this is the right forum for it. Because there's questions.
You need to know what you're using it for.
So what's your goal? You need to go to the Twitch channel. You need to go to the Aux Twitch channel.
Yeah. And heck, even I could even get you on like a Discord call or something and talk it over with you, because I'm already 3 or 4 options that just depending on what it is you want to do.
The NUCs, whatever they are.
Yeah, the NUC. That'd be a place to start. You could do something like that.
That's just a small. Is it just a small? I don't know what that is.
You can put like a freaking 3090 in it.
They've got them that are like this big for just regular computing stuff. I have a bigger one that's got a Quadro P4000 in it. It's about 8 inches square, and then they make
right.
like a monster one.
Mhm.
I think it's like Ghost Canyon now or something like that.
Yeah,
and that,
Linus did a
it's like
review of it.
hardcore
It's
parkour.
massive. Yeah.
And then there's options too, like so you're in a big rig, so like there's Visa mounts, right? If you have like a screen in the sleeper section, you can attach it to the back of the thing, and you never have to worry about it, just on all the time.
Yeah.
There's Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, Raspberry Pis if you want. It depends on what you want to do with it and that kind of thing.
I like the
I love
idea
my
of mounting the
Raspberry Pi.
computer on the back of the TV, though. I think that's like really cool that computers are getting small enough now that you can literally just integrate them into the.
Oh,
Visa
yeah.
mount.
Yeah, it's called
like
a
an
fucking
all-in-one.
iMac.
I mean,
It is really. It's just a modular iMac.
What an amazing concept. It's like a monitor and a computer together. Barnacules, you've created the future.
Except for this is
Oh,
one
what's
that
that?
doesn't spy on you and go through your photos, man.
Oh, yeah.
this is an Intel compute stick. This just
yeah.
plugs into an HDMI port, and I think
I have one of those.
it takes USB power, which your television probably has a USB port on it, and this isn't very much. I think it run. I don't even remember what kind of like OS it's got on it or something, but it's not very robust. But this will get you probably onto the web at least.
No, they're cool for emulators. I used to watch.
Yeah.
It wasn't Metal Jesus Rocks. I think it was another channel where they took one of those compute sticks and they actually got like 90% of the consoles to work like pretty well on it.
Yeah, I believe it.
And that's cool because it's just tiny. You put a little. I think it even has like a memory card slot on the side.
Little
doesn't it?
micro.
Yeah.
micro
Yep.
SD.
Yeah. So you just plug that thing in. You can hook it. It's got Bluetooth, so you can link up your Xbox controller or PS4 controller to it or whatever, and it's like a little emulator. So if you're doing gaming, that's a really good option, like for console gaming.
Mm-hmm.
But
I know we were using these for like the conference room at work or something for a little while, something like
that
that.
makes sense. And you can sort of network them together type thing, so you can.
Don't put one in whatever computer you build in your rig. Just don't use one of these. This is the this is the infamous kindling power supply.
Yeah.
These are only good for like
Explosion ones.
starting fires. That's it. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's the one that Newegg was like basically forcing into all the bundle deals to people that wanted to buy GPUs. And lo and behold, it turns out that they're that the circuit that they put in there for overpower protection is like set massively too high for the rest of the components in it. So if you push it beyond like its rated power output, instead of it popping the power supply, it just blows up basically. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, flames and everything. It's a hell of a spectacle. Go watch Gamer
That's
Next.
funny. Actually,
videos
I looked at those Newegg things because I was like, well, wait a sec, you get a bundle and you get like a power supply and stuff as well. And I'll get the, because I've still got to put a GPU in my my son's cast offs because my son's got the 3080 Ti now, right? So
yeah, well, I'll tell you.
But it's okay. He goes to school in a couple of weeks, and then I'm going to be up there doing all of my transcoding up on his computer because it'll take like a second.
Nice. No, did you hear that Nvidia is dropping a super version of the 3090?
Good.
So everybody went and bought like the 3090 because they think it's like, it's like the Titan, right? It's like, I got the biggest one. They're not making a bigger one in this series. They got to go to the next series. And they're like, nah, we're going to eke one more out. We're going to eke one more out.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did a TI as well.
They will. They totally, at this point, anything's like on the table. If they're doing a super version of their flagship card, there's going to be a TI. And then there's going to be
really
a super
matter though? I mean,
TI.
like whatever. You got a 3090, you got a 3090 super, whatever. I mean,
It does
you get a
matter to
3080
people, though.
3080 Ti is basically a 3090 with less VRAM. Like they're doing this back and forth. Yeah.
So here, let's this is actually a good segue into the topic that I actually solicited information for yesterday over on my Twitter channel. Yeah, so if you're not following me on Twitter, you better damn well be.
Damn right, because
So
that's where it all happens.
Yeah, that's where it all happens on Twitter, guys. So I asked a question yesterday because I was thinking about this. I was looking at my hardware around my house, and I was like, you know what? I am so pissed off at how much shit I've bought that just isn't compatible with each other. Like I bought it because it was the best in field performance wise for what it was, but it's like not compatible. It's like, why do I have like Siri, I have Alexa, I have like Google Now, I have like 100 devices that I can call by different names. I literally feel like I'm living with like somebody who has like multiple personality disorder. So I have all these things, but they're not directly compatible. You have to use like shims and like all kinds of like little programs and websites and stuff to link them together and let them talk to each other, right? It's like Nest. Nest Play has like cameras and lights and all these security elements that talk flawlessly with each other. But no, I have a Nest and no other Nest products, and then I force shim it with a bunch of other shit to make it work. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, why do I keep buying the technology just because it's like the newfangled?
Because you're a nerd. That's what we do.
Because I'm a nerd. I understand why I do. But I was wondering what other people take into consideration when they're buying technology. Like, what is the knee-jerk reaction when you're like a new piece of technology comes out, just in general? I'm not talking about like any specific brand or anything like that. But a new piece of technology comes out and you're like, man, should I get that because it's compatible with my system, or should I just say screw compatibility? I'll just make it work somehow. I care about the performance. I want it to be the fastest thing that there absolutely is. Or do I buy something because it has more features, regardless of how compatible or how much performance it has? Do I only care about how many features it is? Or the fourth option was, do I just pick by brand? Am I a brand loyal person that just says, you know what, by default, I'm just going to buy that brand until it burns me. And then once it burns me, I might consider another brand, but I'm just going to make sure everything plays nice because it's the same. It's made by the same company.
It's a bit of all for me. I mean, I feel like I think all of those are things that, and then eventually sometimes it comes down to like, what do you mean it's going to take 6 months? Fine, I'll buy the cheap one.
Exactly. But like, what's the first thing that creeps into your head? Like when you think about it and you look at something, it's like, what matters the most to you? Like if you saw two GPUs, like an AMD and an Nvidia, the first
I
thing
always go for performance.
You go for the performance.
Performance.
Okay. And that's kind of like where I'm at too, is I'm just like, if that one has 3 more frames per second, I don't care if the drivers are garbage and if it doesn't have half the freaking features that make it look good, as long as it's like faster, that's all I care about.
That's got a bigger number than that. And I'm like, that's the one for me.
Yep. I'm the same way, but surprisingly,
and I get burned by that all the time.
But you're not wrong. I did the poll, and sure enough, almost 60 people, 60%, not 60 people, 60% of 600 people said performance is their number one thing, right? And then a close second for a tie was features.
Too many times now.
Yep, features and compatibility, right? And then last place at 2.9%, and this one blew my mind, was brand. Yeah, because all I do is see brand loyal people. I see it like me. I'm team green Nvidia, even though they do all kinds of shenanigans and bullshit. I love Nvidia. I've used it forever, and I keep buying it, for crying out loud. Apple iPhone. I bought an iPhone and an iPad and an iWatch.
I hate Apple, but I still buy it all the time.
Still buy
I feel like it's kind of context sensitive too. Like for my mobile devices and like smart home stuff, I'm on Google, right? Android and I have Nest stuff. But then like when it comes to PC stuff, it kind of leans more towards performance. Like I just upgraded my PC to an AMD CPU and I still rock an Nvidia graphics card, because those are the best. And then at that point I will buy the best that I can afford.
Yeah.
What's the Nvidia you got? What graphics card?
1080 Ti.
1080, right? Yeah.
Oh, you got the Ti. I just got the regular old pleb Founders Edition 3080. Oh wait, you said did you say 2080 or 3080 Ti?
1080 Ti.
1080.
Oh, you got a 1080. Oh, you poor thing. You poor.
No, that's still a beast.
It works.
Let's say a prayer for our.
That's what I needed to.
No, actually,
you got to sell more of those little tickers.
Dude, 10 the 10 series cards are actually still pretty capable. Holy crap!
Yeah,
I still have, the Titan XPs, which are based on the 10 series, and I have those on my other two systems. And I do 90% of my gaming in the bedroom on a Titan XP, not my computer upstairs that has the 3080 in it, surprisingly.
And that's basically a slightly better 1080 Ti. Yeah. The X little P.
No, they're so close. They're so close. Yeah.
I think you get like 6% better, and I think you have better, or you have more VRAM. I think the Titan XP has 12, where I have 11.
But I just every single time I upsell myself on every single purchase.
Yeah.
Always. Just like how much money because the other thing is, like, from my experience, I'm always like, you buy something and it's obsolete the moment you bought it anyways, but you want something that's going to hang around as long as possible, right? That's
totally.
When it comes to CPUs, I buy the most powerful I can possibly afford because I know that it's like you want to cling to it as long as possible, right?
Yeah.
That seems to be like a general consensus in the comments under this too, is people seem to buy for longevity now. And I think a lot of that is like new mentality too, from, just COVID and availability of things. It's like people just want to squeeze out. Like networking equipment was the number one. People are like, you know what? I buy networking equipment for its longevity. Like, I don't care about its performance. I don't care about it being like the best and fastest thing or whatever. I just want everything to just last and work for like 5 years.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
it's like the roofing. It's like the roofing of PCs. You just like you just don't want it to fail. That's all.
Exactly. So I did a follow-up poll. I did a follow-up poll to this because I was kind of surprised by it. I was surprised only 2.9% said brand, because the way you see people talk on social media when you talk about products, like people are, oh, that's I do it myself. That's for poor people who'd get AMD, Nvidia, Team Nvidia, Team Intel. Everybody's like got their thing that they pick, but realistically, when it comes down to it, it's like people will jump ship on a brand for compatibility, features, and performance.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Like overall,
there's no brand. The brand loyalty. I don't see as much brand loyalty
again
beyond a lot of stuff. They also haven't earned it.
Not in PCs, but if you look at mobile stuff and like smart home things, those sorts of deals, very, very, like, there is a hard line. Like it is super, like, to almost cultish. Like In my
About the
experience,
iPhones and the
what I've noticed,
Samsungs and
yeah,
the-
man,
Mm.
the Apple
Huawei's.
versus Android thing is hardcore, and I think a lot of that comes down to like the social cost or the social
You mean
sort
being a
of,
social pariah for being on Android?
in a sense, yeah, like the
I
clout.
prefer Android, but I just
Right.
couldn't deal with the walled garden, right? Because all of my family is in the iPhone Apple world. So
Same.
you have an Android, you just can't
Yeah.
do group chatting with them on iMessage. It's fucking ridiculous.
No, and that's the same thing too. It's I got like
I'm in a
strong
group-
arm.
I'm in a group chat with all my Apple people.
Well, it's
the
just
new
not as
firmware
easy.
updates make it more compatible. You know, not.
Oh,
But,
do they?
Oh yeah. They allow you to use like what is it, FaceTime, and I think you can do like iMessage and stuff through a website now.
I mean,
you can.
my texts show up green on their phones instead of blue.
I don't care
but,
about
I mean,
that.
I'm still in a group message with them.
For so long, though, I was finding that Android would bounce you out of you'd get a separate reply from me if you were in a group chat, individual, as
Like
opposed
as
to
a
having
separate like.
Yeah, it wouldn't copy
wow,
everyone
that
in. It would
sucks.
just the only
that-
issue is just that iMessage has always had more features because it's a proprietary system. It's not
Right.
it's not text
Yeah.
messaging, right?
And
the
it
other thing
falls
is that-
back too, right? So like if it
and
doesn't work, it
images.
just turns blue, and then it works on everything.
That's the funny thing. Like the intern, the little one, was like, "How come all my text messages are green now?" And she's like, "Me," and it's like, well, because it's using the SMS network and not
it's not using your
not the
iMessage,
whatever
yeah.
it is, the RNC or whatever the fancier messaging system that Apple uses on the back end. So
The
it's like,
anti-pedophile system that they're using.
right.
Yep.
Yeah.
The anti-freedom system that apparently they already had a guy take a picture of a duck and get it to trigger the system.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, what was someone doing to that duck, though?
So, as far as I know, nothing. But no, somebody wanted to prove that you actually could, forcibly generate the hash that would trigger the system.
Really worrying.
And he literally was able to get a picture like just done perfectly and cropped and everything to match one of the signatures or whatever and trigger the system. And I was like, oh,
I mean, this is this is like the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Good intentions.
This is
Just so true, man.
The concern being that they have absolutely we need to solve the problem. But is this the way to do it? And I mean, look at
go to
China stuff,
pots, my man.
I mean,
Honey
Jesus.
pots are where it's at, David. You just gotta.
What's the deal? So what? You just you put a big repository of fake images and have people sign in. And
just get the pedos to come to you, man. Like honeypot torrents and honeypot websites, and go on the deep web and crack down on these sites that have this content, or dark web, and crack down on the sites that have that content, and then take them over and then just record all the incoming IPs of anybody that's coming to the site. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that they can track them down, but I can tell you the wrong way to do things is to have a mechanism on a phone that looks at a third-party database that isn't even controlled. It's controlled by a private company, right? That has special considerations to store this data. And anybody that can put a hash into that system can basically trigger a cop to come to your house, basically, if they wanted to flick that system. So now you're just giving them a way to basically be like the cop that pulls you over and says, "Hey, your headlights, your tail light's broken," as they like just busted it with their nightstick before they came to your window. It's like, I just think that it's a bad move. I think it's going to backfire on them really hard. I think it's a great goal. I mean, absolutely, throw all these people in a fire and just like burn them to death. But at the same time, it's like, man, I think this is just going to be weaponized like doxing and swatting, right? It's just, you're giving another weapon to the community. I firmly believe that. And they've already shown that Apple, they said they've taken every consideration. It's 1 in a trillion, and it's not even officially out yet. And people have already triggered it.
Yeah.
So like unintentionally. So no matter how good it works, it can actually be manipulated, and that's going to be a big problem.
It's a weird stance for them to take too, because they've tried to differentiate themselves on privacy because they had to explain for why everything was so expensive. And which BlackBerry did as well, which was a complete sham, because of course BlackBerry was just handing out the codes to law enforcement all over the place. But
where's BlackBerry now? Where did BlackBerry go?
Exactly. They're still in Ontario. There's a couple of those business stories that just absolutely flabbergast me. One of them is how Research in Motion could possibly have screwed up with the BlackBerry, and the other one is I just heard that Twitter is putting video back in their tweets. I'm like, you had Vine, you had TikTok before TikTok, and it was doing well.
Yep.
Like I couldn't. I'm like, oh my god. Like, put that on someone's tombstone.
Dude, my sister was so loyal to BlackBerry to like the bitter end, because she liked that little
my father
jog dial thing that was on there. That had like the little ball that you rolled around.
We loved them. Oh my
god. My sister literally had like a mental breakdown when BlackBerry like went under. Like when her
I bought things that snapped onto the iPhone so that you could have the keyboard.
That's oh my god, dude.
Yep,
Oh my
yep.
god.
Yeah.
Actually, my favorite phone that I ever owned, as far as just like nerd credibility, where you pull it out and people just take notice, was my Hitachi HC1000, which was like, now you got this is back in like 2000 and probably 2003, but it was like this big. It was a Windows Mobile 6 phone that had a giant like combat field antenna that folded out of it. It had a camera that rotated in the chassis, so it could be front facing and rear facing. Oh, dude, that's awesome. You actually have a Newton?
I have the Newton. There's
No
your-
way. Does it work?
I haven't. You know what? I haven't plugged it in for years. I took all the batteries out because they leaked.
Oh, then yeah, that's what I was wondering, because they're like everyone I've ever seen is dead. Like it's just it's just a display piece. So if that actually works, it's probably worth money, dude.
Oh yeah.
I cleaned it up pretty good. I loved it. I freaking loved it. And then the Palm Pilot, I had the Palm Pilot. I checked all those, unfortunately.
I had a Palm Trio 750 or something like that. One of the not almost one of the last ones they ever made, and I liked.
I had the original one, and then almost the last one as well.
Johnny Wednesday in chat said, "Don't plug it in, David."
What?
He said the capacitors and those things are likely dead, and I think that is one of the problems that I remember about them is like they will self-destruct after a certain amount of time. So you probably have to have it.
I used to put them in my back pocket. It used to get so hot I had to take it out. And of course, you'd also have to have the right pants to fit it in your back pocket.
Yep. I remember back when PDAs were all the rage, right? Like I had a compact. Oh God, what was it called? It was like basically.
Oh yeah.
They eventually made it into a smartphone like years later, but I had the one that was like the OG one that just connected to Wi-Fi, and that was it. It was just like and it was like $600. It was like $600 for this like PDA that goes in your pocket that's slow as crap, runs Windows Mobile 6. You know, and it's like you can do like you can do like Excel spreadsheets on it and send email. It was actually pretty ridiculous, but I think and it could play music, which back then was like a thing, right? Like today, everything plays music, but back then it was like a thing.
This couldn't do anything.
The Newton was anemic as hell.
Like there was a modem that you had to it was like as big as the freaking messenger pad itself.
I love it. It's so much fun.
So freaking crazy. Here, I want to read out a couple of these super chats because these people are being so freaking nice today. Oh my God.
Thank you guys so much.
We love your face, and we will keep the cosmetic thing popping up on the screen for you there, so that you can always come back. In 1,000 years, you'll be able to come back and watch this video and go to that time index and see yourself pop up on the screen for posterity. Let's see what we got here. CeeLo Cube, thank you for the 5 pounds, my friend. Nigel Watton, thank you for the 10 pounds. Ooh, we got all the UKers in the house tonight. He said, towards your retirement, lol, please don't retire. Love the channel. Well, I don't think I'm gonna be retiring anytime soon, honestly. With the economy the way it is, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be working until I'm 91 years old or ashes,
loving it.
And loving.
Hey man, if this is what we get to keep doing, I'm down.
Shit, it's fine with me. I think of this like even on my worst day, even on my worst day where I'm waking up and I'm just like, oh my God, kill me because my muscles hurt so freaking bad. Even on that day, I look at that and I'm like, how lucky am I to be able to just put on pajama pants, walk upstairs, grab a cup of coffee, and do my thing. It is, oh my God, like it is literally a dream job. It's one of those things where it's like you might not make $1 billion doing it. Actually, more than likely you're not going to. But if you can make enough to survive, it's like it is a hugely good trade-off. In my opinion, for me, I'm like, I would rather have the less money and just live like a decent life instead of like the mega yachts and going doing everything on the weekends. I'd rather do that and just be able to enjoy life, like 100%. Enjoy everything.
Like a cottage industry. I love it as a cottage industry. Like I see, like as I would love to be able to doing this, that where you're like surviving, you keep yourself in the manner to which you are accustomed. You could do the odd treats now and again.
Yeah,
there's so many benefits of this too. Like just from a connection standpoint, like you know, like just who you get to talk to, the like the tech you get exposed to. I mean, I just like it's. I love it. I wish I could. I mean, I don't know how to integrate it better with what I do because I feel like I have to drop everything as soon as I act, it all falls apart. And I sort of miss that. But then, of course, as my wife says, yeah, and you get paid for acting, so shut up and go to acting.
And I mean, I've seen communities grow around, you know, sort of spotty connections in a sense, in that way, you know, where like, hey, this is something I love to do, but this is definitely my side thing. And and you know, I'll be there when I can be. I'll let you know when I can be available, but I do have to do, you know, I got to put food on the table, and this is how I do that. And you know,
it's weird though, because acting, when I first got into acting, you could share more, right? Like you could talk about stuff. You didn't have as many places to do that, but like on
which is why they have the gag order now.
Basically, I mean, on Stargate, I used to do like my favorite line of this episode, and I do it from like set. on YouTube back when I first started. I did a few of them. And then all of a sudden you get the companies start going like, oh, no posting to social media. No, that. So all of a sudden, all of that stuff, they want to monetize. I guess they want to monetize all that themselves. Right. So
Yeah.
all of a sudden it's like, I can't just like show up with a camera on set and go, hey, everybody, look, there's a big rocket ship, you know, like they don't want that anymore. Right. So, that's kind of a drag because I'm always sort of nervous to what I'm allowed to share and what I'd have shared and what I'm gonna get in trouble for.
If I'm being like completely honest, when I had the overlap in my Microsoft career, because remember, I started this way back when I was at Microsoft. Like this all took off because I was using my Microsoft money to buy like 3D printers when nobody knew what a 3D printer was, buying big. I was one of the first like few people on YouTube that had the giant screens, you know, across the 10-foot desk and stuff that so many other people just like were like, holy crap, I got to do this. A lot of that stuff was funded by doing the Microsoft thing, but I will tell you, I was always nervous when I worked at Microsoft making videos, especially when some of them kind of overlapped with what I did. Because I was always just of that fear in my head that it's like, oh, I signed an NDA that they're going to come after me if I say this, or they're going to fire me. And, you know, I signed so many things that are like, they can just fire you for no reason, right? Like they basically make you sign a document that's like, listen, if we fire you because you're too fat, like you have no legal recourse and you agree to this. You know, it's like they cover every single base. So it's incredibly hard to successfully sue them for anything if they fire you. So it's like, so I felt really weird, but I will tell you, like the most liberating experience ever is when they laid me off. I was devastated and like, oh shit, like, you know, I was a lifer. I was going to be there forever, right? Microsoft. I was like, I was drinking the Kool-Aid hard, and once they laid me off, it took a couple of weeks for it to like really settle in and for me like to realize. But I'm like, listen, I can say whatever I want now. I can do whatever I want. Now, obviously, there's always consequences, right? I mean, if you make content, you know, 10 years and come back to bite me, some company might not hire me because I was like shitting all over the products back in the day. But whatever. I understand that. But it's like, I'm the boss now. It's like, I am the captain. You know, I can do what I want. And that is like super exhilarating. So one of the things I've really tried hard to do and in this business during the good times, the bad times and everything is not submit to signing contracts and getting in bed with companies. Like I don't mind.
I get nervous.
Because the second you sign a contract that says, oh, you can't speak badly about our product or you can't talk about our competitors in a positive light and all this like standard jargon that they put in these things. Once you sign that, now you feel weird. Even if it's the same exact video you would have made, you feel weird while you're doing it because you're like, even if I wanted to say something, I couldn't. You know, and so then I kind of like I think about that. I'm like, okay, so you still, even just like when I was working at a company, even working for yourself, you still have employers. They're just different. You have a lot more of them, right? So you have to think about it in terms of like what is more important to you. Do you want the growth and do you want the money and do you want that? Then you got to sign the contracts, play the game, and be the influencer, right? Or do you want to build a community, enjoy what you're doing, and have like no restrictions where if something happens, you do not have a gag order and have to just stay silent and act like it never happened. You can actually get into the nitty gritty. And I'll tell you what, ever since going in that direction, I felt a lot better. But I'll tell you right now, I mean, like full disclosure, you're not going to get rich doing that. Like you're not going to build a huge rapid audience when you don't have these huge companies with millions of followers promoting you because you're promoting them.
You're also not working for someone else. I mean, that's exactly
it. That's exactly
I find it difficult. I don't work well with others.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, even if there is consequences, like over on Twitch, I'm much more hardcore, obviously, than I am here over on Twitch. And it's like, if somebody leaves because they don't like me, I look at all my audience like they're my employers, right? It's direct employers.
Oh, yeah, in a big way.
I entertain them. Yeah. They either watch an ad or send me some bits or sub or something. You know, there's a lot of ways that they can support, even just watching, right? But it's like, if somebody leaves because they don't like what I say, I don't have to be like, oh my God, I'm going to lose all my employers, because for every person that leaves, there's another person that comes in that's like, oh, that's interesting. Or you know, or wants to just disagree and have a debate or whatever. So you have this constant like revolving door audience where you have your core audience, which I'd say in my case is probably like 90%. It's like a really stable audience over there that show up to every stream and do everything. But then you have that 10% that just kind of like, you know, some people come, they like it, they stay, some people leave. And it's just like, you know, a little bit of a revolving door, but it's like there's always somebody there. And once you realize that and you get comfortable with that, you're like, you know what? I can say what I mean instead of what I think people want to hear.
Right.
And that is like hugely liberating. And when you have a job, you can't do that. When you have a day job, it's like you can get, like, depending on how comfortable you are with your employer and how far what you talk about online is from your real day job, you might not be as uncomfortable. But I can tell you, like right now, when I worked at Microsoft, I definitely worried when I was standing in front of the camera, like, oh man, I better not say anything about a bug in the product. I better not like say something that Linux did better.
Right.
You know, I better not say these things, because if I do and my employer catches wind of it, which ultimately they always will, they might, look down on it and come and give me, a spanking for it, or worse yet, get rid of me.
Mm.
And so that was always looming in the back of my head, and not having that now, it's nice to just be like, if something is a piece of shit, I can just call it a piece of shit. Well, like everybody else is dancing around it and being like, oh yeah, no, it's not what it seems, or hey, let's give it some time. And it's like everybody saying that are the people that have contracts with them that are making tens of thousands of dollars for pre-rolls. I don't have to do that. And I love it. I absolutely love that. Hell, I even talk shit about the VPN that I have an affiliate link for. I do all the time over on Twitch. I talk about the good things and the bad things. I love it.
That key seems to be finding that place where you can work for yourself, but you're not just taking on. It's that weird thing of like, you want to have your own business. You don't want to have your own job, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because then you don't get any of the, then you're really just doing all the work for less money, right?
Yeah. It's like, what's the saying? It's like if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life, or something like that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's like, I like that mantra, and I think it does hold truth. As well as the other one, which is like, if you do what you love as a job, it can actually like ruin your hobby. That's also happened. So you got to like ride that fine line of where you don't dive so deep into it that you're feeling like it's forced.
Yeah. I think what happens
hurts.
is people who try to turn like their hobby into a business burn out because they have to do all the stuff that they don't like to do. The business side of it.
Exactly.
Like I want to build PCs on stream. And for people, like I want them to hire me to build their PCs. I don't want to do.
You'd hire them to build them on, like you would hire them and they would know that you're building it on stream.
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, they hire me.
That's cool.
Holy fuck! What are these? What is this? Is this rupees?
Yeah, $6.72 because it converts it in the pop up. But I like calling it 500 rupees though, or rubles, or
I think that was rupees. That's India, so rupees.
Oh man. India in the house. He said, hey, probably one of your OnlyFans from India. If you ever need to confirm anything India related, ring me up. Used to live in Kirkland. Ooh, that's close to me. But did you get the pleasure to did not get the pleasure to meet you? Oh darn, man. Yeah, you were actually within spitting distance if you were in Kirkland.
That's it. We have to go to India. We have to go like do a tech.
We're doing it, man. We're going to Dubai. Woo!
Yeah, Dubai is not. I don't think
not Dubai. Hyderabad. Sorry.
I was gonna say I
really?
I think Dubai is UAE, right?
Yeah, it is.
I think my map's
actually
wrong.
afraid to go to Dubai. Is that weird?
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Like,
I wouldn't be afraid to go to Dubai.
Dude,
I would go in a second.
They literally arrest people for like public cussing or like public
dude.
shows of affection. It's like, what if I want to just walk up and kiss a dude? Like, why can't I do that?
No,
but I think but they have also really good tourism thing too, right? So they probably like.
I think
everybody I've talked to in Dubai said that they're actually really chill about it to foreigners.
Yeah.
Like it's more of a like they enforce it on their own
It's
population.
Just all the little people in the background who are doing,
but it's still that just makes me really uncomfortable. Like I've watched so many videos of like dude just starts like cussing at some dude because he gets pissed off in like the middle of a mall, and the cops like literally go and arrest him for just like telling the guy F you and walking away, and they're like I'm like I don't know how long I'd last in that country, honestly.
I bet. I mean that, and like I've heard Kenya is really cool. Like
Kenya.
Cool.
I'd go to Kenya.
People think it's Africa's gotta be scary and weird.
No man.
Love. I mean Egypt.
I was in South Africa
too,
many years ago.
Outside of that craziness that happened a few years ago. But yeah, all that stuff seemed really cool spots. Like I think they get a bad rap just from like the media, but like movies and stuff put a weird like image in your head of what it's really like. And
I didn't want to go to Australia because I thought I was going to be killed in seconds.
Yeah,
I was going to step off the plane, be attacked by snakes and spiders.
No, man, it's out in the wilderness.
It's like everywhere. There's bad spots and good spots. So come to the United States. Like go to Detroit. Detroit's fine as long as you're not like walking 8 Mile at like 1 a.m.
Central and shit. Yeah, come on.
It's like the same thing.
LA.
Here. Come to Washington. Just don't go to Hilltop Tacoma at like 11 a.m. wearing a Raiders jacket, and you probably won't get killed.
Not as sketchy as it used to be.
Actually, I haven't been there since I was a kid. But when I was a kid,
Tacoma
scary,
is coming up, man.
Good.
Tacoma,
really? Good.
Tacoma is nice.
Dude, when I was a kid, my friend actually drove me to Hilltop just to scare me. Like when he got his license, he was like 16 and a half or whatever. And he's like, dude, we're going for riding my Acura Integra or whatever. And we're in Tacoma, and he just starts driving into Hilltop, and I'm getting nervous. I'm like, dude, we're not supposed to go there, because my parents even told me that. They're like, do not go to Hilltop, right?
Only time I legit saw like Lincoln Town cars on cinder blocks, like 2 blocks.
Yep. That's exactly what I saw, dude. Like cars up on cinder block, like every 5th or 6th car up on cinder blocks. I saw a car that was burned out. Like somebody just started a fire in it. We drove by a school that had crime scene tape around it and actual bullet holes in the concrete. And I was like, and this is all within like
Please
a
take me
mile.
home.
I was
Please
like,
take me
I don't
home.
want to be here. I don't want to be here. So
I don't wanna be here,
so I'm
Akira.
glad to hear that it's getting a little bit better there. But I watch a guy on YouTube who goes and tours like New York and like the worst parts of New York, like where it's still like considered like gang controlled territory and stuff. And like during the day, he like went in there, he was fine. Like he was absolutely fine. There's all these business owners and people making food and everybody's, as long as you kind of keep to yourself, like people are just chill. And so I was like, I like seeing that. I like seeing videos.
Like
where
people
they're
live
doing it.
in these
Obviously,
areas,
Yeah.
so they're obviously surviving in them. It's just like I guess it's just how.
Yeah, it's like if you
stupid
go
are
outside
and-
every day and you get shot at, you're gonna find a way to leave. Like you probably just live in a tent somewhere to avoid that, right? You're not gonna just stay in your home if you just hear bullets flying by your head every time you go outside.
Right.
So
if you can get out though, because some people can't though.
that
Right?
is
Like,
true.
If it's like
that is true.
you know,
You can be tied down. No,
if
that's
you've got
totally
like
true.
if you're in like low income housing or something, and that's like, what are you gonna do? You can't. The cost of moving even would be too much. It's terrifying. Jesus, yeah.
No, it is scary and stuff like that happens. But I'm glad that like throughout this entire pandemic and everything, though, that there's been some kind of relief. Because could you imagine like what would have happened if people were just getting evicted like immediately?
Dude.
Like if they didn't do that eviction moratorium, which now I'm not saying that was like an end all be all solution, because now it's like over and people still don't have money to like pay all the back rent on their stuff. So it's becoming a really bad problem, obviously. But could you imagine what would have happened if everybody just got evicted?
I don't even know what's happening here on that, because I know that was a big issue.
Yeah, like what do you do if you have no income? It's like here in the United States, it's like the average family lives like paycheck to paycheck.
We got the new wave. We got another wave, right? We're just
Yeah,
starting to
we're
go
on-
up. Our numbers are going up again.
What is it? The Delta came, and now there's another wave that's confirmed, and now apparently there's like a fourth or a fifth that they said if it makes it to the United States, we basically have to do a whole new vaccine.
We're
It's like
talking
the
about
Omega or something like that.
We're talking about the new norm thing, and it's
Yeah.
like it's not. We're not going back to normal.
Nope.
No, it's going to be different. Like it's just. I mean, I'm not going to say it's going to be terrible or worse or anything, but it is not going to be the same. There's no way people are going to. No one's going to be on a subway car the way they used to be.
No,
Probably
I
not.
think it's one of those things where if everybody had got vaccinated like quickly, it would have helped like tremendously. But now that these variants are spreading so fast, I think we're going to get to the point where it's like it's more important to have therapeutics than the cure. And
It's
we're just
even
gonna
politicized here, though, too. I mean, we've got people
Yeah.
like screaming at the prime minister about making them get vaccinated, and it's like, you know what? Like 75% of the people in hospital right now are not vaccinated. It's like,
What I
else
don't
do you
get
need?
though is like when I was a kid, and this is back in the 80s, right? Back in the 80s, I had to go get like shots every like 3 years going into a different grade in public school. They required it. Like I had to go
There
get
was
my
tetanus. There was
tetanus, measles,
smallpox,
mumps,
MMR. Yeah.
What was that?
All
It's
that
like you had to get your MMR, was it no, not DDT. That's shit they put on racetracks. What is it? So I
Isn't that
remember
what I
the
used to kill
measles, mumps,
bugs?
and rubella.
Yeah, MMR.
Yeah, and then there was the tetanus, and
Yep.
there's a third shot. I can't remember what the third shot was.
That wasn't the smallpox shot. Wasn't there like a
No, when we were
No,
when we were
that's
kids, they
like my
didn't give us.
dad got a smallpox shot, not us. We don't do that
Remember in
anymore.
the 80s, we
We
didn't
don't?
have a vaccine.
Oh, it's gone.
for,
Smallpox is dead, man.
Yeah, well,
no, but we still have
actually,
to vaccinate against it, because that's the whole point, isn't it?
No, like smallpox is done. Polio, same thing, done.
So so it's just down to a point where we don't even need to get vaccinated for it anymore.
I'm
I
pretty
thought we
sure
did for some
smallpox
reason.
is like eradicated in.
I
at
know
least in the United
polio
States.
still is a big problem in a lot of countries, so we do get the polio vaccine. I do know that.
Yeah,
Chickenpox.
Chickenpox, we
There
get a
is
vaccine
one.
now.
I know.
Oh,
I
whooping
don't- I
cough.
didn't
It was
get
whooping
one.
cough. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep, I got
cough.
I had to get the whooping cough
Yeah.
one because Xander and his lung problem when he was born. So, because if you have any kind of lung problem, HPV now is a common shot that they give to most youngsters going into public school and everything like that, right? Because like 1 in 3 people have it, so it's like the only way to get rid of it is to start inoculating young.
Tuberculosis.
Routine vaccination for smallpox stopped in 1972 after the disease was eradicated in the United States.
So
Right.
basically,
Although
and now
I
you have
thought there was a
measles
breakout.
coming
I thought there
back.
were a couple of breakouts. I thought
There
were a
might
couple
have been. There's still a couple
Yeah.
weird cases of stuff.
Man,
that
I
we
hope
need
not. That's
inoculated
just
against.
dangerous, man. That's the one that a lot of
Yeah.
times they're like they goof like in fiction and stuff. They say, "Oh, somebody like genetically messed with smallpox because it's super spreads, like it's insanely infectious." Like that's no
Yeah.
joke. Actually,
And
I think
then-
that's the in the Division 2. That was their plot, was like it's a modified smallpox.
The other thing that's like kind of weird too is like, okay, so we get all these vaccines, and we did even in the 80s, and even the people that are complaining about vaccines like don't even
measles.
realize that they've been vaccinated themselves for like a million
Yeah.
things, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, and now we have the Pfizer vaccine, which is 100% like, now it's good to go. It's got its approval. So it's in with all the other vaccines. It's like, this is something that will just go forward that you'll get. but everybody wants to fight it for like political reasons. But at the same time, I found out there's another vaccine that you don't hear a lot about, and that's the HPV vaccine, right? There's parents that are really pissed off about their kids getting an HPV vaccine. Like everybody's getting triggered about this because the doctor
mainly because of it's the Christian stuff, right?
Yeah, because they're like, oh, sexually transmitted disease. By you giving this to my kid, you're implementing that he's going to be sexually precurious or something like that, or you're enabling him to be sexually precurious because
But
now
it's women are the issue. It's the girls who can get stuff that
they found out men
that
too.
HPV. Oh, as well.
Throat cancer. Yeah, apparently they've linked it to throat cancer in men. So yeah, it's
well, then great. Another vaccine. I say chalk them up. Line me up.
I thought it was crazy. I thought it was crazy that like my son's doctor, when he went in to get his vaccinations, like all the other vaccinations were fine, but that one he's like, oh, I just want to talk to you guys about this before I give it to your son, so that you can, you decide if you want it or not. And I'm like, okay, this is controversial. Like giving if there's a shot that my kid can't get AIDS, am I going to deny him that? No. Of course I am. If there's a shot that I can give him that protects him from stuff that's out there, that's moving around, it's like if I can give him the freaking vaccine for, what is it like, herpes A, C, or what's the other one? Hepatitis, right? I want him to have all those vaccines. I want him to be protected under every single situation, because not everything that happens in life is like consensual or on purpose. You know what I mean? Right. It's like, I want that protection for my son. I just thought it was weird that people like get mad about that.
It's always about risk, right? It's people's attitude towards risk. And I think if you need all the information, and then and none of these things are 100% safe. None of them are 100% effective. The whole point is that it's a matter of, are you taking your chances? Are you taking your chances against a virus, which you have absolutely no control over, or are you taking your chances with a vaccine, which is being tested as best as possible given the situation?
Yeah, and in a controlled environment.
And I'll go with I'll go with that. I'll go with that every time, because I mean, I'm the son of a doctor too, so it probably makes a bit of a difference. But I kind of find all the science stuff cool, man. It's like, give me a jab. Yeah. I'm that much more of a superhuman than I was before. But it is extraordinary to see. Like, I've got friends. I won't name names, but there was a friend of mine who tweeted the other day about like, hey, if people get antibodies from getting the virus anyways, then why isn't that an option for people? And it's like, because then you have to get the virus. Like, what? I'm not sure what you want people. So in other words, you want to let people have the opportunity to get the virus if they want to, but no, that's not the point, right? We're in a situation where we've got to contain this thing. If a number of people get them, it's going to mutate. It's going to spread. It's like it's just.
You just have to slow it down. And the thing is, like, as long as you can slow it down enough that there's therapeutics that give you a high chance of survival, and you don't overwhelm the medical system. If you can achieve those two things, you're in decent shape, even if you can't cure it, right? There's a lot of things that we have that we live with, right? Like, HIV, for instance, that used to be a death sentence. Now you can have a long life with the therapeutics that are available, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But if you overwhelm the medical, you overwhelm the medical system, though, you're screwed. If you physically cannot get access to it's like insulin, right? Yeah. It's like if you're diabetic and you can get insulin, you're going to do all right. Like you're going to, be as good as you can be. But if you can't get access to insulin, you're dead in like a week. It's like you rely on that medical system to provide that and have that available for your quality of life. But if you overwhelm that medical system and there's more people that need it than what's available, like that demand outweighs supply, you're screwed. And that's the same thing we're running into right now.
Too, right? I mean, AIDS is a perfect example of that, where the education was so skewed because of
and legitimately like twisted by the government.
Hugely. Even when I was a kid, I was a part of that. My mom would be like, "Oh, because I had a friend when I was who had HIV. When I was a kid, and he was a hemophiliac, so he couldn't play outside. And because if he got hurt, he'd have to go to the hospital. Even a bruise, he had to go to the hospital for. And so we just stay inside and play video games and stuff like that. But my mom would always be like, hey, make sure you don't share the same cups. If we had drinks, they labeled them and stuff to make sure that we wouldn't share. And it's like they find out that you're not, the amount of saliva that you would have to ingest to
how that works.
It'd be insane. It would be like you literally drowned from it. It's like you're not going to get it unless I'm licking his blood off his arm, and even in that case, it's going to be difficult because your stomach acid and everything and your enzymes in your mouth. So it's like, it's not like, oh, you're going to sit on a toilet seat and get AIDS. It's like no,
but they were spreading that shit around.
That was the information. There you go. There was a fake news before the fake news. Well, and there was there was that whole thing of like, this is nature's way of just getting rid of the people who've got something wrong with them. They like other men. Then
that person needs a blood transfusion. They need to die. It's like, oh my gosh, so sad. It's
pretty crazy.
It's so sad. We just need to do what we can to keep people safe. That's what I am. I'm just team safe people. That's all I am. If something turns out being worse than if the cure is worse than the disease, then obviously I'm going to side with you. But in this case, that is not happening. So it's like, help save your neighbors and help save other kids and stop being a hard ass. Get vaccinated if you can. But also, if you can't get vaccinated for whatever legitimate reason, I'm glad that I can get vaccinated.
What are the legitimate reasons now? Like, what are the legitimate reasons for not getting
compromised?
So if you're immunocompromised or you have an allergy to the component that's in the vaccine, and it takes them a while to develop the vaccine that doesn't have the stabilizers in it. They do for some things, like whooping cough, because they have to give it to pregnant women so they don't, if they have a preemie baby, they don't kill their baby. They have a version of it. It's much more expensive and it's harder to get, but it doesn't have the stabilizers in it. But that also means that it doesn't last very long. It has no shelf life. So they have to order it, get it, and like put it in quickly. And that causes a lot of problems. But something like that will become available for even flu vaccines and stuff like that. But it's a lot more expensive, obviously. Insurance doesn't want to cover it unless you absolutely need it. But if you're somebody who can't get vaccinated because of availability, immunocompromised, you're in a situation where the vaccine just poses too much of a risk because of your family history or something like that, then that's fine. You don't need 100% of people vaccinated. You just need to hit herd immunity.
Yeah, if no one else can get it around you, then you're in a much better situation. Totally. But just don't count on being. I mean, that's you don't want to count on that. At this point.
Because if everybody thinks that, I didn't get it because everybody else got it, and the other person's like, I didn't get it because everybody else got it, then you end up in the situation where everybody's like, I'm one person pirated a movie. How can that kill the industry? And you find out nobody ever paid for a movie ticket. It's like, it's the same kind of thing. It's kind of scary and funny at the same time. Let me hit a couple of these super chats here. We got, let's see here, reviews playing and more RPG. Thank you for the 10 Canadian dollars. So can I take an M2 from one motherboard with Windows OS and put it in a new system? And if so, will I need any other drivers?
You'll need to reactivate Windows and likely your motherboard drivers.
Correct. But the thing is
audio drivers, that kind of thing.
As long as it's Windows 7 or newer, preferably Windows 8, because Windows 8's when they moved to the newest driver model. If you do that, it's gonna boot. You're gonna boot, you're gonna be fine, but it will have to, like you said, reinstall all the drivers and everything. And if you don't have a network driver, like the new system has too new of a NIC for the operating system that was on it, you will have to go and find the NIC driver and like load it on it so that it can go get the updates and download the drivers for everything else from Windows Update, or manually install the drivers. But no, it works fine. Like, as a matter of fact, I had back in the day, I used to use vanilla install of Windows 10 that was on a USB drive that I would just boot every computer to like do benchmarking and stuff like that, and to do backups to run my backup software. And it worked fine. I think out of all the PCs that I booted off that thing, I had one PC that blue screened. And the reason it blue screened was because it had a bug in the firmware on the motherboard where the default driver that it falls back to, because every driver in Windows has like a Visa compliant standard driver that's supposed to work on everything, but not all hardware is like perfectly compliant to that standard because they have their own fancy drivers. And so what'll happen is it'll boot off that and it'll blue screen the machine. Like a lot of old GPUs used to would crash if you tried to load VGA.sys, which is the low level Visa driver. And so your computer would crash trying to load VGA.sys, and people be like, oh, damn. And then how do I boot into safe mode? Because safe mode's always going to load VGA.sys to get some graphics. And
was there a hack that involved that too? Wasn't there like some kind of a penetration thing? Yeah, there's the
VGA.sys is like, and actually it hasn't been changed all that much. Like I know the person, I personally know in person. He was a little bit of a mentor to me at Microsoft. His name's Andre Vachon, and he is the original guy that wrote VGA.sys because Windows was too much back in the Windows 95 days. It was too much of a pain in the ass to boot like Cirrus Logic. Diamond, all these different companies, Trident, all these different companies had like their own drivers that were completely proprietary. So they all had different memory addressing and everything. So without loading a Visa standard driver that would basically allow all of these devices to speak the same language, if you didn't load the right driver, it wasn't supported by the operating system, you couldn't even boot to a point where you could do anything.
It is so much easier now. I keep thinking dip switches.
Exactly.
Because that's what I was dealing with.
Right? Right? Yeah. So the answer is, take that M2, throw it in the other system, set up your BIOS to boot off of it, depending on whether it's whether it was set up under EFI or BIOS. You may also have to push F11 or F12 to get the boot menu if it can't find the master boot record for whatever reason. I've seen that happen too on some other boards. But no, once it starts booting, you should be all right for the most part. If you're not, boot into safe mode, and then once you boot into safe mode, go into device manager, unload all the motherboard drivers, and then reboot the system, and it'll basically force a redetection without trying to load the old drivers first, and should be fine. You should absolutely be fine. Jerry Watson, thank you for the $2, said Barnacules. He said, that's why I jumped on the ST deck. What is the ST? Is he talking about Stream Deck?
Oh, maybe. Maybe.
Hey, Jerry Watson, can you say in chat like what you meant by ST deck? I don't know what ST deck is.
You're too cool for us. We don't.
Yeah,
understand what
I
you're
think it
saying.
goes back when we were talking about intercompatibility of technology. Hey, Pop Shepherd, thank you for the $5 super chat. He said, "Wags, hi, David." He said, "I got the itch for using Blender for film. I know Blender is actually getting remarkably.
Blender.
Oh, I
popular,
love my
dude.
blender. I do love
Dude,
my blender.
I've seen some
Yeah.
Blender renders that I'm like, oh, it rhymes.
man,
That
there's
just
some
look like
beauty.
real life, dude. Like
Oh, yeah.
straight up real
Yeah.
life. He said,
Yeah.
I can film myself, lay that footage in Blender, and then rebuild a scene around me. Thoughts?
Huh.
So Blender for film. Okay, I can film myself, lay that footage
Yeah.
in Blender, and then rebuild the scene around me. Thoughts? I mean, I've seen people.
So
doing
basically, you're
exactly
doing
that.
virtual. He's doing virtual
Yeah.
sets with his own stuff.
Unreal might be a little better. Blender's good for like making the 3D assets that you then import into. Like if you wanted to make a scene, like say I wanted to be sitting on the deck of the Star Trek, right? Or Enterprise. I'd build that scene in Blender to make it look good, render that out as like a single frame or maybe like a looping thing with blinky bits. But then you port that into Unreal and then I could,
and Unity's doing it too.
And
Unity's
I could
also
then
got their
be
system.
I could then import my virtual self or even just like as a green screen status. And then that could be live. But Blender's a little tough to do from my understanding. I do not have like literally
I don't
any
think
experience.
it's designed for it
It's
specifically.
Not for like live, but my understanding is it's like it's good for making those assets and stuff like
And there may be plugins now. There's probably like some kind of a like a pipeline to get stuff into.
You can do animation in Blender though, because I've seen tutorials. on
Yeah,
YouTube
absolutely.
and stuff.
Oh no, you can do great stuff. I was doing so. I used to play with Minecraft animation, like because that's just a great way to learn animation, right? There's these little blocky figures, and you just make them.
Do a search on YouTube for like inexpensive. Oh, what's it called? Is it rotoscope? I think it's rotoscoping. So there's a technique that you can use, like if you don't have like green screens and motion trackers and stuff like that, and you want to put yourself into a digital scene convincingly, like with a moving camera. There's these little tricks that you can use. And I remember I was shooting a movie. I was a character in a movie called Cube, not the Cube you're thinking of with the David or whatever.
There's no way out of here.
No, I'm talking about like the Cube movie that never happened, probably because it violated some copyright or something, had to be aborted. But anyways, they were shooting in downtown Seattle.
Sued you.
Probably. So downtown Seattle, I played a bouncer back then. It was funny.
Hey, nice.
It worked back then, trust me. But that was back when I was like actually lifting weights and stuff. But I remember that one of the techniques that they used, because the building that we were in was like an old hookah lounge that was in Seattle, and they needed it to look like some kind of big digital like fighting ring. And so the way that they did it is they set up a bunch of lamps, these like lamps on tall poles that were taller than the actors, like 6.5, 8, 7 foot tall. And they would put different colored bulbs on the top of them. They had like a purple and they had like a blue and they had like these different colors. And what they did is as they shot the scenes and moved the cameras around, they did this weird rotoscoping technique where it basically changed the angle, determined the angle of the frame based on the distance between the light points. And then they would paint those out of the digital background, because it didn't matter. The digital background was going to cover them up anyways. Wow. So they would take that out and cut out the actors, and they could actually they showed me like a little test clip that they did a couple of weeks later. And it was like the camera was like handheld rotating around the two guys that were about to fight. And it looked like they were in a giant 3D rendered like arena.
Wow. They just motion track it. Yeah,
and they did like, it was like poor people motion tracking off of a couple key lights. It was really cool.
Well, Adobe After Effects. I mean, there's lots of amazing stuff for that. That's my Red Giant guys. They have a whole bunch of software for that stuff, and chroma key and all that kind of.
Oh man, just you
don't even need green screen anymore though.
The roto, what do they call it?
Oh my god,
it's like an auto rotoscopy thing. In Premiere and After Effects now that they're what is it? Oh, it's like roto something too.
Roto brush.
That might
be
the
roto brush or the roto something or
something like
robo rotor something like that.
Yeah, roto brush too. Yeah, dude, it's so good.
It's so just good. Amazing. Yeah, honestly, those are skills. Like I would say, if you're using Blender, by all means, I would also look at the Adobe stuff as well, because
for sure,
all sorts of amazing plugins just to save yourself a ton of time, and also so much of making that stuff looking real is how you integrate the software.
Yeah,
how you integrate the two. How you integrate the two the images. So Adobe After Effects has some really great tools for doing exactly that. Because there's always that little it just takes a little tiny bit of fuzziness around the edges, and my son will go like, effects.
Oh yeah, right. And but
speaking of my son, I'm gonna have to run. I'm afraid.
Oh, Oh, okay.
I'm gonna have to bail a little early. I
That's cool.
apologize.
No,
No worries
you're
at all,
good,
man.
Thanks for
You
hanging
punch
out.
out. You say your piece whenever you need to, and you punch
Yeah.
out and advertise something.
Yo,
Yeah.
peace.
Right on.
Yeah, you guys should definitely listen to Tech Talk. It's great.
Yeah. Tune in on Saturdays.
Saturdays. It's great. Look, and hopefully I can come in next Saturday as well because my wife will be in London, England. Yeah,
England.
and finishing up her film, and it'll just be me and the kid doesn't want to talk to me. He'll be on video games. So there you go.
Nice.
We'll see you next week as well.
All right. Cool, man.
Take it easy.
All right.
Dave.
Apologies for
Thanks stopping by,
bailing
man.
early, but I
Dude,
just
I
yeah,
know,
I got-
you're
You weren't
good,
even
you're
supposed to show up today, so dude, I am so happy. I am elated.
I'm
that you made
Canadian,
it,
eh?
bro.
So we got to apologize a lot, eh? So we're so sorry, eh? Sorry, I got to go look at some stuff at the house.
All right, go post some stuff over on Twitter so I can give you a hard time about it.
All right.
Yeah,
cheers.
right on.
All right, later, buddy. Oh my gosh.
Cool.
Oh, God, I'm just having a good old time over in chat here.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we went down a weird path. I'm like,
Oh no, I don't think it was a weird path. At all.
I don't
think it
know.
was a good
It just
path, and I think that-
it starts a fat argument that nobody's going to come to a conclusion on, and there's just no point. It's
That's why I just ban him, dude. I'm over here
Well,
playing
I mean,
mom. I'm making
there's
moves,
this-
bro. I'm making moves.
it's just there's. I mean, I guess it's just I don't know.
No, it literally I only had to block one guy. There's just one guy
Yeah.
rattling off. Oh, government
Yeah,
conspiracies and all
look,
the flat earth is flat.
everybody's
Like,
got
get outta here.
their thing for whatever it is they want to believe. Like it doesn't matter. Just keep it to yourself. For
Good idea.
Here at least.
Yeah.
Like,
Go.
there are
lots of
places for
forums
that,
will,
and
that will praise you for that behavior. Just go there.
just whatever.
I will tell you this though, Corridor Digital. Go watch those guys if
Man.
you want to see like really
like,
cool and
the
inexpensive.
best
They don't
shit.
always use expensive stuff.
I mean, their cameras and stuff, yeah, but the tools, like the software tools and stuff
Yeah,
are not that.
yeah.
It's just a lot of skill. Like
No,
they
one of the-
know what the fuck they're doing.
Did you see the app that they use? Like they 3D printed a face rig that holds an iPhone,
Oh yeah,
and it uses like the 3D camera on the front of the iPhone to like real time track your face while they're doing like motion tracking, and then using
And-
Unreal to like map that onto the character.
they've been putting out some good content on their main, like their website that I think is like, it's kind of like a float plane-ish sort of deal. Like you subscribe and you can get some of their more premium content. They have a whole show of it's like a Dungeons and Dragons thing that they're doing all that virtual production stuff for. They've got themselves a big green screen cube, a volume, I think their first thing is doing is a Dungeons and Dragons show that they're doing.
And what's cool is they have, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, they're doing the Dungeons and Dragons where they're all dressing up in like the armor and putting themselves physically in the 3D dungeon.
Oh man, where is it?
And so the cool thing is you got to subscribe to a bunch of their channels because they cross over. So like Corridor Digital shows you like how they do the things. And then Corridor Crew shows you like the finished results, like the finished rendered results. Like one is like how they did the Boston Dynamics video. And then the second one's like, here is the fully finished end-to-end Boston Dynamics video. But
so
some
good.
of the stuff they do is so freaking good. That Boston Dynamics video, though, is off the hook. Like they made that look so realistic and convincing.
They did amazing with that, and like to the point where they kind of got not a talking to, like in a bad way, but like Boston Dynamics actually reached out to them about it, and like, hey, we're kind of getting we're catching some shit for this, and it's not really us. Could you help clarify?
That, really?
Yeah, like some news orgs and stuff. And I may be misrepresenting the details and stuff of that, so like take that with some salt. I don't remember exactly how they presented it, but yeah, the because like news websites and stuff picked up on the video and didn't realize like it was pretend. The second one they did where it like runs off into the distance into the fucking desert. They had a like, hey, can you like maybe do something, not like take it down or anything. Like they weren't mad about it, but they had a talk with them like this is super real, and like I can't remember what they asked them to do
because they didn't technically use their name. They called it was Boss Town, not Boston.
Yeah,
it was like
Boss Son of a
Town
Dungeon. That's the one. Son of a Dungeon. Oh, it's not out yet. Okay, they're working on it.
Yeah, no, I've been watching the videos where they've been like kind of talking about it, but they haven't shown anything that's like completely done yet.
Man, they're so good. They're just freaking.
And the cool thing is, if I remember right, I think they're shooting that all. It's not going to be like live streamed, but the way that they're doing the video, they created like a streamed pipeline where it's like all the acting and everything, all the face map, all done in one go. So,
I believe it. Yeah,
so for the actors, because before what they would do is they'd like videotape you in front of a green screen, then they'd put you into the world, then they do the adjustments to like rotate the camera paths with the video, and then they do all this extra stuff to like in post. It'd be multiple steps, and now what they can do is they have a pipeline where it's like the robotic arm moves the camera, and they got the HTC Vive trackers or whatever on it with the lighthouses, and then they have the green screen, and then they have the guys, and they can basically just like do everything live, and the director can sit there and watch it on a screen, like fully rendered as they're doing it.
Dude, this
I think
is so
that's
cool,
man. It's so freaking cool.
I'm looking at just some of these these screenshots they've got for it. It's like they're comping in the live people into a miniature like legit
dungeon, right?
yeah like it's legit like plastic minis,
yeah,
but then they've got like their live actors
dude, they did a sweet video where they built the whole plastic like actual tabletop, because what they're going to do is they're going to be playing D&D and then basically going down into the world. So that transition to go down into the world, they basically built the whole tabletop thing, which is huge, by the way. And then once they built that, they 3D modeled the entire thing with like textures and the whole works, so that when they go down into the game world, then they have Unreal seeing the world, you know, from the point of view of the characters on the board.
Yeah.
But the characters on the board are actually live action characters in costume, like in the world, like in real, like recorded. It's phenomenal how they do it.
So the Ponage Power, Mandalorian is a little different. Similar concept, but the way Corridor's doing it, they have a green screen volume, basically a big cube that they've built with a green screen fabric. Mandalorian used an LED volume. So what Mandalorian did, and a few others are doing too, is basically they have these a whole bunch of really high resolution LED monitors essentially, and what's being projected onto the monitor, or what's being shown on those monitors, is the Unreal environment, the Unreal Engine environment. And then you have to tie in. It's kind of a pain in the butt.
Insanely expensive too.
Oh yeah, just the volumes are tens of thousands of dollars. But there's, if I remember correctly, they have 4 PCs running the volume that have to be synced together. So they're all using Quadro cards to sync together. Then the cameras have trackers, because the Unreal, you set a camera, right, to see, but they have to tie a tracker to the physical camera to the camera that's in the Unreal Engine. And so that when they move the camera, the scene moves correctly as well.
The actor literally sees the actor in the scene actually sees the environment that they're physically in the video.
He was goofing. He says, sometimes I enjoy it when Ox doesn't get my jokes. Well, it's text, man. I can't tell if you're joking.
Well, I mean, other people might not know how
I get to go on a tangent, so it's fun for me too.
I'm sure there's people in chat that didn't know how that worked though. So
and you basically that's what Corridor's doing too, but I imagine they're doing something a little bit more DIY, kind of like how this guy Matt Workman is doing it with the HTC Vive trackers. He tweaked, like you'll set like the hand tracker or like a helmet thing onto the camera, and tie that into Unreal, so that when you move the camera around in real space, the camera moves in the virtual space as well.
And you can, by the way, you can do that yourself.
100%. Yeah.
Like,
it's really not it's not that tough.
Yeah. So Tribal Instincts, if you go and watch a video on YouTube, just do a search for Barnacules in VR. You'll see a bunch of mixed reality videos that we did. That was like in real time on his monitor. Like I could have live streamed that. Like what you see in the video where it looks like me, I'm physically in the world, my pajama pants, like swinging lightsabers and shit.
There's a bunch of streams that do that now. That was like first steps into virtual production stuff.
Yeah, and you can hand hold the camera. Like during one of the videos, he picks up the camera and physically starts walking around me, because the whole room in his house is green screen. Like all the walls except for the one facing the back. And so he's like free moving this camera. And I'm perfect in the point of view is perfectly moving and scene, which makes me look like I'm a 3D thing in the actual scene. Now again, the difference, like you were saying with what they do on Mandalorian, is you're not going to get the lighting effects off the green screen, right? So your lighting is going to look different than the scene. The reason they do it the way they do in Mandalorian, where it's basically screens and light boxes that change the color, temperature, and the lighting to whatever the scene is in real time, is it reflects on the actor. So if the actor's like wearing glasses, you'll see the reflection of the environment in the glasses. If they're riding or they're driving a car, you'll see the environmental reflections of like the actual trees and other vehicles and stuff in the 3D scene in the physical car. And that makes it look so freaking realistic. Like that takes it to like
that's the biggest benefit of doing the LED volumes is the lighting.
Totally.
In fact, sometimes too, when for lighting that's like beyond the volume, they have these multicolor like essentially RGB LED panels to kind of get the right temperature in a sense, you know, that are like above and behind the cameras and things like that, so that to get the lighting better and more correct stuff like that.
Dude, there is so many cool ways that they do video now. Like, did you see how they did the new Lion King? Did you see that John Favreau? So you know the new Lion King that's actually 3D, but it looks true to life,
right?
Like it's weird. Like, watch it. It looks real. Like it's photorealistic. Well, what they did is instead of doing the Unreal thing where they put like real environments behind like 3D animated creatures or whatever, they made the whole thing 3D. But the thing is, by making the whole thing 3D, including the actors, right? Because they're mocapping and doing facial, conversions and stuff on these animals to make it look real. They put John Favreau in an actual VR headset, sitting there, and he'd see the virtual world while the actors were moving around and doing their things real time, mapped onto the characters as they were moving around. Well, the camera guy also had a VR headset on, and the camera guy's got like a VR camera rig with trackers on it. And he could actually direct the cameraman to move around the scene while the actors were acting. And it was all rendered in 3D as if he was sitting on set and watching the cameraman move around and the actors move. Like it was real life. Like he was filming a real life thing, but it was all real time in 3D. Now, obviously, it wasn't going to be like the final resolution and everything. They have to do thousands of passes to get the hair to look right and stuff.
Right.
But it's like he could sit there and feel like what the scene was going to feel like, and the emotion and the angles and the lighting and everything. And he even had a controller where he could tweak it. Like if he didn't like the sun, he would like grab the sun and like move the sun so that it would get rid of like a glare on one of the actors or something. And he could literally just control everything in the environment. He could just take a mountain and just like drop it in the background. It was really cool. They did a documentary on it. And I was like, John Favreau said it was like one of the funnest things that he ever did, because there's no way to get that kind of creative control in any kind of shooting style. So he'll apply this to the future too. He said he'd apply this in other future 3D movies where they basically create the assets in Unreal, play the whole thing out, and then they can tweak it in post to make it look flawless. But it allows him to see the actors instead of being in voice boxes, just voicing stuff, and then animators figuring it out.
That's part of the benefit too, is like you can have your like environmental artists on set, and when like we'll use the Mandalorian example, they have environmental artists like there while they're like shooting scenes and stuff, and they can grab a rock and move it over there, or like, oh, this is kind of weird, like let's put the weird floater bike that's in the background, like let's move that there or whatever, and there's less post-production because of it. They can do it in real time. Like, oh, we want to make this change, we want to change the sky color or like make that shinier or whatever. It can do it while somebody's there on set, like make those changes instantly. And so cool.
Hey, Miss Liz, I see her in chat.
Hey, what's
Miss
up?
Liz in the house. Woo! All right, you guys gotta behave now. Miss Liz, she's so cool. She don't take no shit. She's she's super mod. No, I would love to try to see what kind of production I could make with just Unreal, like in front of like a little Elgato green screen, pop-up green screen, just like farting around. Yeah. But the thing is, I think this technology could really heavily be used for VTubers, and I think a lot of them don't use it because they think it's more expensive or harder to do than it actually is.
Well, I mean, even the VTubing thing is pretty again, I say simple in a very relative sense.
No, I get that. Like somebody doesn't know anything about computers or something. Yeah, they're gonna struggle, but
there's a lot of good well, I mean, even right now, there's really good tools for that sort of VTuber stuff, where like Face Rig, right? The software Face Rig. But like, say you wanted to do a VTuber like dance off sort of thing where it's full body motion. It's not as weird or as difficult as it seems. There's a lot of cool like DIY solutions that are happening. The iPhone thing that like their LiDAR thing to do the face unlocking is intense, and a lot of people on the DIY side of things are doing that. You'll have a weird helmet thing that you print out, and your phone like sits like here, and it's looking at your face, and that may have went really quiet, but your phone sits kind of just about your chin little and points kind of up at about a 45 to get your face, and it'll paint or animate a rig. Oh man,
really accurately too.
Check out Matt Workman. He is the name of the guy who has a bunch of stuff on DIY virtual production things. There's another gal that I know through work, Gabriella K. She has a very complicated Greek, I think, last name, and I don't want to butcher it. She goes by feeding_wolves on YouTube. She's jumped in both feet with that, and she's this is more prosumer for that. And again, like Matt Workman stuff is a little more prosumer, but like if you can take that as inspiration and kind of figure it out at home. This stuff is really, the barrier to entry is actually not that bad, especially since Unreal is free and you spend $12 on a big piece of green fabric and maybe an HTC Vive. Like,
the funny thing is there's even like cheaper, because software, because you got so much processing power, software solutions are getting better. Like how you can just use a webcam and Snapchat filters and have a fully animated rigged character on the screen in real time.
The Easy Sparky asked, what sensor does it use on your phone? It's the whatever the LiDAR thing that's built into the phone that does the face unlock.
Yeah, if it's 12, it's LiDAR. If it's 11, I think it's like an IR like projector thing. So you have to be closer with the 11, but still it's close enough. Like it just has to be within, I think, like a 1.5 or 2 feet. Yeah. So it works with the rig,
the hardest part setting up the rig is setting up the character. That's really from what I've seen, that seems to be the more in-depth and complicated part is rigging the character and the face. Heck, dude, Unreal now has a fucking face thing that is super fucking great. You know, that'll work with just your fucking webcam.
Yeah.
And man, it's freaking amazing. What are they?
So does Adobe too. Adobe has like this character studio thing.
Yeah,
it's like, what's it called?
That leans more toward like animated stuff, like cell shaded. It's Character Animator. Is the name of the thing. So MetaHuman, the facial rig for Unreal MetaHuman. I think it's still beta, but again, Matt Workman and a bunch of these other guys that surround. Once you start going down that rabbit hole, start with Matt Workman. You'll find a bunch of. That's the name that just is stuck in my head because he's been doing this stuff for a long time. This DIY stuff where he's been tweaking the the HTC Vive stuff, the VR dots and the fucking all that stuff. Man, it's super cool. It's really, really neat stuff.
Yeah, the HTC Vive stuff you can find really cheap now. Like the first generation stuff, you don't need like the second generation stuff. The first generation stuff works just fine. And there's people that are just using controllers too. Like if you don't want to buy the trackers, you can literally like 3D print like little armbands and stuff that will hold the controllers. Mm-hmm. But I've seen even more like if you're doing a live stream and you don't need it to be like flawlessly millimeter accurate, I've seen people that just put markers and stuff on their elbows and on their hands that are visible to the camera, and the camera can actually like do a pretty decent mocap just off of these markers.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of options out there for you to like create like VTubers, but I think a lot of people just pretty much like open up Snapchat filters and create a character in there, which you can also like go on Fiverr and pay people to create you a character. Like give them a character, give them an image of you and say, hey, make me a rigged Snapchat filter that does this. And then you just plug it in, use your phone or use your laptop, and then just import that as a scene into OBS and bing, bang, boom. You can even put a green screen behind the character in Snapchat filters and then extrapolate that and then have like different environments and stuff and animated environments inside of OBS Studio that you control with buttons while your animated character is on top. Yeah. And you'd have your animated character even like shrink down into the bottom third and stuff. There's so much cool stuff that you could do now that you would have to pay tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to do before. And now you can just do it with like off the shelf software. And a lot of it's just free. A lot of it's just free for you. So like take advantage of that. Like just look around. There's lots of YouTube videos too. People are like, where do I go to learn this stuff? YouTube.
Yeah. Oh yeah. YouTube. 100%.
Everything.
Virtual production. That's the key word that you're looking for. And there's a lot. And it goes from cheese ball, cheap. I filled my garage with green fabric to millions of dollar volumes. It's nuts, man.
It's wild what you can do, stuff. Man. And the thing is, it doesn't have to look perfect either. That's the cool thing about live streaming. It's like almost an uncanny valley is a good thing when it comes to live streaming.
Yeah,
it really is. Oh, what?
Not quite the right one. I thought. Here, I'll look up the one I was thinking of. The
Here, while you're doing that, Camaro 85. Thank you, the €5. Let me see here. So, hey Jerry, last week I recommended the Remix Brothers on YouTube. I haven't had a chance to look at them yet, but I do have a note of it, so I will check them out eventually. Theodorus Nicolau, thank you for the €5. He said, haven't been able to catch the stream for live for a while now. So here's a few euros now to make up for it. Oh, you're such a sweetheart. Thank you.
Thanks,
And
man.
Miss Liz, our moderator that pays us for being our moderator.
So
She's
crazy.
amazing. Thank you to the $5 Canadian and the wonderful heart. And thank you for showing up too, because boy, chat was getting a little rowdy there.
A little weird.
So now you can come in here and just be the bouncer. Hey, Eric G, thank you for the $5 super chat. He said, saw your answers to my earlier questions. Unfortunately, driving for a while today, but would love to get in touch. Greatly appreciate the help. Oh, dude, he's all about getting in touch with you about that.
Yeah, Twitter.
Yeah, he's a really cool guy. Yeah, he's over on. He talks to me on Twitter also all the time. He's a really cool dude.
Yeah.
Space Monkey, thank you for the 100 rupees. He said, for me, the kind of tech used to make the movie Gemini Man, where they rendered a photorealistic Will Smith 30 years younger, was scary. You know, it didn't work though.
And it was
way too uncanny.
Cheap. Like that, in my mind, they didn't really put a lot of effort into that.
There was some scenes. I'll give it credit where credit's due. Some of the scenes actually did look pretty good, but there were so many that looked bad. It kind of ruined it for me.
And the fucking what is it? The deep faking, right? I feel like they didn't put enough effort. Honestly, enough time, really.
Dude, literally the deep fakes that you can do right now with like Deep Face Lab on GitHub, like the deep fakes you can do now with that current iteration of technology beat what they did in that movie. So you can do on your home computer.
Look at the Mandalorian. The end. So spoilers. Luke Skywalker shows up at the end, right? And that was bad. Like, come on,
terrible.
You have how much footage of young Luke Skywalker, and you're gonna do that to the poor guy? They hired
film footage, which they can pull massive high resolution.
They hired a dude who did a better job on his own. Like the corridor guys did a better job.
Guys kicked his ass
on their own, and they didn't even put a lot of. I mean, again, relatively speaking, put a lot of effort into it, and we're talking billions of dollars that Disney has available to them, and it's like they hacked it together in a weekend. You know,
the Paul Walker deepfake was actually decent. That was a really good one. Yeah.
Oh man, I was shocked when I saw how much of that was not really Paul Walker.
Yeah, I thought
it was really mostly just like that last scene, and it's like 75% of the movie is not Paul Walker. Like. I was shocked. They did amazing.
I'm really surprised they didn't deep fake him in at the end of 9. Like that kind of shocked me. You kind of show spoilers. No, not really though. But they just show him pull up in a car. Right? He's not a part of the movie, so I don't consider it a spoiler. But just like pay homage at the end, he pulls up in the blue R34 Skyline. It's just the car. You don't see
just pulling up
inside. Tinted windows.
I think. Just to go off on a tangent, I don't think they should have had Mia in there either. They both because really his wife is going to abandon their kid and Brian's looking after the kid. Kids,
that is a little weird
because I think in canon they have 2 kids.
Yeah.
She's going to dip out on her kids and make Brian look after him for a while. Like that, they shouldn't have had her in there at all.
Yeah, Brian, go ahead and watch the kids. I'm gonna go with my brother and fight world crime.
It literally could have been like a 1-sentence phone call. Say, oh no, we can't do it. We can't risk the kids, and that's it.
Here, just to trigger everybody in chat. I watched F9, and I love Fast and Furious. I love Fast and Furious. I love how over the top it is. I have to say that 9 wasn't anywhere close to my favorite, not by a long shot. I felt like it was, but the one thing I did is as long as I don't watch it as like a Fast and the Furious movie, it's actually entertaining.
They're popcorn movies now, right?
It's literally just a lot of action and a lot of explosions and a lot of crazy stuff. But my God, it's just a joke about itself. It's literally just making fun of itself, literally.
Like how Saints Row went super off the deep end with their craziness.
Yeah.
Oh man,
you could just tell that when they created that movie, they were like, it's like, okay, really going to space on a Fiero or whatever. Oh my God,
come on,
that's in the trailer. But
great. That was great.
I did. I laughed. I laughed hysterically, and the fact that they just keep being self-aware of how ridiculous the shit they're doing is. Even throughout the movie, there's multiple times where they're just they start becoming breaking the fourth wall almost. I
loved that. I loved that when
that was my favorite part.
When Tyrese is like, man, we're invulnerable, and he's realizing that holy this is super weird. I was surrounded by 14. So spoilers, whatever. If you haven't seen it, too bad. But he's like, I'm surrounded by 14 guys. Look at my shirt. And it's got bullet holes and stuff in it, but he's perfectly fine.
Not a scratch.
I love it.
I don't have a scratch.
I think that was so funny, so smart of him to do
he's
that.
Literally standing in the middle of a room with 20 dudes around him, aiming 5 feet away, just blasting him with gun smoke, and he runs out of it, and he's fine. He's
so good. I love it. I
It's
think
like you couldn't miss if you were blindfolded. It was great.
yeah,
That
was
part
great.
I liked. That part I liked about the movie, that it didn't take itself seriously at all. But don't worry, none of that's really spoilers in the way that it's like there is no real the plot of the movie. Like I don't even know
Hated
what
that.
it is.
I thought
Like,
it was
I watched
funny.
that. Yeah, I don't get it.
It's I don't know. Yeah.
I thought it was all over the place, and I was like, this story is just like it doesn't really know where it's going or what it's doing. But I do like, you know what I will say though is John Cena, and a lot of people aren't going to agree with me on this. I think he's actually becoming a somewhat good actor.
Oh yeah, no, totally. Yeah,
Like-
I'm
like,
down
did
with
you
him as an
see-
actor for sure.
Yeah, because we talked about this. You saw the new Suicide Squad, right?
Uh-huh.
So I didn't really like it that much the first time through. Second time through, I loved it.
Yeah.
So I think I just wasn't paying enough attention like the first time around. It was
Hold
catching
on.
me out.
Somebody's at my door. I'll be right back.
Okay, go ahead. So don't worry, I'm not gonna spoil it. I'm just gonna talk about him as an actor. But John Cena is actually one of the better actors in that movie. He plays a character. What's his name? Like shit, I can't even remember his name. It's like something like Peacemaker or something. I think it's Peacemaker. And he plays it so good. And it's just weird seeing John Cena be such a good actor. Like you just, because honestly, in like his early acting, he sucked. Like he really sucked in a lot of this, like when he came in as like cameos and stuff and shows and movies. I was like, oh my God, this is hard to watch. But no, he's legit good now. I thought he did a really good job as Peacemaker. And I can't believe the shit that they got him to say too. It was absolutely hilarious. Let's see here. Space Monkey, thank you for the 100 rupees. Elliot Dyson, thank you for the £5 super chat. Like he's playing with the pounds. Said, hi, Jerry and Houston. I never catch the show live, but I've always watched them back on recording. Just wanted to let you know how much I appreciate the show. Well, thank you, man. We really do appreciate that. Without your support, we can't do this. Space Monkey, my man, thank you for the 200 rupees. Said, you really have not seen many Indian movies, have you? I will be honest, I haven't watched a lot of Indian movies, but I have watched a fair share of the Bollywood stuff that's on Netflix when it pops up at like 1 a.m. in the morning. And I see the trailer. Funny. Yeah, it's like, but, and I don't want to like sound insulting, but it's like way over the top. Way over the top. Like everything you watch is like, Enter the Fist or whatever, Kung Pao, Enter the Fist. And I was entertained. I watched a couple of them and I actually thought it was wildly entertaining. I thought I was just going to turn it on and turn it off. And no, I actually quite enjoyed that massively over the top. Like I watched one where it was like the guy was a superhero. It was basically they were trying to do like their version of like Iron Man, but like, where they had it was maybe more like Superman. And so you had the guy that was like super powerful, but it's like the effects that they do are just so obnoxiously over the top that I was like, this is hilarious. I absolutely love it. But man, the production value, holy crap. Bollywood production value, like even though it's like completely over the top, it's like the cameras, the lighting, the coloring, the audio, like they don't mess around. Like they're putting some good money into this stuff for sure. He said, hold on, Bollywood is nowhere near close to Hollywood effects, even though 90% of the Hollywood work is done in India, including final rendering. But I don't think that's like the technology as much as it's just you guys are way more over the top with your storytelling. Like, I think so when it comes down to, there's a lot more emotion and drama. Like every Bollywood movie that I've ever watched, regardless of there's always song and dance through the whole thing. Yeah. Like I have yet to watch a Bollywood movie where they just don't randomly break out into dance and like the really traumatic color shifts and like zoom in, zoom out, zoom in, zoom out, like do all the cliche stuff. Right. And it works. It absolutely works. It's like wildly entertaining, but I don't think it's a problem with the effects. I don't think Hollywood has the better like equipment or anything or the effects. I think it's just you guys do a different way of storytelling. The production value actually looks really good. JP, thank you for the $2. Said the plot of Fast and the Furious is family. Because Vin Diesel says family like 9 million times.
That I have to say was like a major sticking point for me. Like everybody had like I think every single person in that movie said family at least one time.
At least.
And that was driving me up a wall. Like, come on.
They were literally doing it just to be annoying. It was like
seriously, I think they did it on purpose just to see how many times they could do they could say it.
Yeah, there's a YouTube video where they just put them all end to end all the time that he said family and the Fast Furious 9, like all the characters. Or it was like a 10-minute long movie. Like on YouTube, it's just family. It's all about family. We do it for family. Family. It just goes on forever. So, and I think that was another one of the self-aware jokes, right? Because
yeah, I think so.
So they even said, even the director or producer or whatever, Fast 9 said that they literally looked to like the forums and the memes and stuff to give the audience like what they wanted, to go really truly over the top. And that's why they did the space thing, right? Is because everybody was making memes about like Fast and the Furious going to space, because they've already like been in jets and taken off and like in submarines and sliding across the ice and everything. They've done everything else. So it's like, where do they got to go? Where do they got to go? They've been everywhere else. So did they go to space? Yeah. And sure enough, they took the meme and they went to space. Or all the memes where it's like, oh, they're invincible because they're flying through the air, flipping endo over him. The car explodes with the dude like arm out the window, fire coming out. He obviously dies. And then like 2 movies later, they just bring him back. Because like they basically are like, anybody can just magically come back from the dead in this franchise.
I think it's kind of, it's almost like self-aware in that way.
Yeah, that's what I felt like.
Yeah. And yeah, I thought it was pretty good, actually.
Have I seen Shaolin Soccer before? No, I can't say I have. Shaolin Soccer.
Like
I'm guessing that's got to be like a foreign movie for sure. Excuse me. Wait, how did Cena sell out to China? Oh, he got in trouble.
He mentioned, so it's all in the chat now, but just to get it out there, he talked about Taiwan as a separate country. China got pissed off. He then put out a video like blubbering and apologizing for it and stuff. And
didn't he like literally speak in like Mandarin Chinese?
Yeah, like I think his apology was in Mandarin. Yeah,
like you remember seeing a video of him like on he's like hang shang shao shao, and I'm like, what? Huh? He learned Chinese?
Probably like enough just to say that,
right? Like, I'm sure he didn't really know what he was saying. He was just regurgitating it. But
yeah,
I was like, man, he must have really pissed somebody off that like had a hand in his pocket or something to go through that length to apologize.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's like, a lot of people, it's funny. He like got in trouble for what he said, and then he basically got in trouble for the policy. He can't win. Yeah. He can't win.
Oh, he speaks it fluently. Nice. Right on. I didn't realize.
No. Does he?
I mean,
we'd have to verify that. I don't know. But
I'm willing to believe it.
I mean, shit. Yeah. I didn't think it was possible for him to be a good actor, and he blew me away in Suicide Squad. So yeah, I guess.
Oh man, and I liked him in. There was a bit in, I think it was Daddy's Home 2. I think he was in, and he's been in a few pretty decent. He's been in a pretty decent movies.
I have to say though, I never thought that I would say this, but he was my favorite character in that movie.
Oh, in Suicide Squad, the new one. Yeah,
I was a Peacemaker was my favorite character. Like just the shit that came out of his mouth. He's like, I would kill however many women and children I got to kill to get peace. I'll do it. And it's like they're looking at him like, what the hell's wrong with this guy?
I saw somewhere where somebody was like, man, if we could just have like a series of Suicide Squad movies where like the group always is changing, but it's like centered around Harley Quinn, and then the team changes a bit. I was like, I could get behind that. That'd be fun. That'd be a lot of fun. Because you could get all kinds of cool, crazy, like this polka dot guy, right? A super like cheese ball, pooped out villain in the comics. Like nobody gave a shit about this low level dude, and they turned him into like a genuine like, I'm interested in that character. Yeah, I want to see more of that. And
he's like a legit threat too, which is like you see him and you're like, you just laugh at this guy and be like, oh my god, you're like from what was it? Oh god, the Tick. You remember the Tick? Like all the weird superheroes on the Ticks that didn't have any powers. He reminded me of that, and then you start seeing what he's like capable of, and like you're like, whoa, dude.
Man, I think it would be a cool idea to give people as almost like separate from whatever cinematic universe they're trying to build here, almost like parallel to man, because you could introduce all kinds of cool fucking goofy ass characters, and they go on these just crazy adventures that don't really necessarily have to make a lot of sense. Like it could be a almost like a zany comic book sort of like angle, and it'd be a lot of fun. I hope
they do another one though where they go after Amanda Waller. That would be awesome.
Sure. That'd be cool,
because she's always been like the villain, but she's also like the whole reason the movie exists, right? Like that's always been a weird. I want to see them like go after her. I want to see her like have to put a group together like to protect herself.
Right.
That would be really interesting to see. Hey, Space Monkey, thank you for the 200 rupees. Said new age Bollywood movies are way better. I'll send you some of the recos over Twitter for some of the super cool Bollywood movies. Yeah, please do. Like link them all, man. India's over the top as a country. Come over here sometimes. We'll convert you. I did have an opportunity to go to India twice, and I turned it down both times just because I have like anxiety about being around like insane amounts of people, and all the videos I've seen. I'm like, it's literally people like just getting like bumped into by cars and like crowded on trains. And I was like, yeah, probably not going to do that. But no, I know that from all the videos that I watch of these travelers that go to India and everything, it sounds like super hospitable people. I already know that because I worked with a team of 15 Indians from different provinces, spoke different dialects, and they were all amazing. Like my whole team was like freaking amazing. Except for one guy that come to my office like every day and basically like begged to shortcut everything. But other than that guy, everybody else was awesome. So yeah, no, I mean, if I had the opportunity and we weren't dealing with a global pandemic and I wasn't like medically all incapacitated, going to India would actually be pretty cool. Like, I think that would be like a good experience if I had a lot of lorazepam. So
yeah.
like China, I don't think I'd want to go to. That I think is a big no for me. Although I would love to go tour the factories and stuff over there. Like I love watching the videos of people doing like factory tours and stuff like that and seeing like how all this stuff gets made. That's pretty cool. There's very few places though that I've been. Like the only 2 countries I've ever been to, and I mean barely, like just tiptoeing into, is Mexico and Canada, our 2 neighboring countries. I've never gone anywhere not directly connected. And I've never flown to Canada. I've only driven there. And to Mexico, I've only been to Mazatlan once. That's it. And I mean, I literally flew to Mazatlan, stayed in a resort, and came back. Like I didn't see shit. Wow. So I don't feel like I really am that well traveled. Although I will say that since I became a YouTuber, I went from never flying anywhere or doing anything. I literally, the first time I was ever on a plane was to go get married. And then the second time I was on a plane was after I was a YouTuber flying to conventions. And then there was some points where I was flying to 3 or 4 conventions a year. And so I did more traveling, before the pandemic, and then that stopped everything, obviously. But yeah, I did a lot of traveling, and I have to say I liked most of it. Surprisingly, I hated going through the airport, but I love traveling to new destinations.
Oh yeah, man.
It was awesome. But I will tell you this, man, Chicago scared the shit out of me. Like if you're from Chicago, like straight up, like you're hardcore, man.
I had a layover in Detroit once.
I did too. I did go into
and I bought a shot glass, and that was it. I was like,
oh my gosh, dude. Yeah, the airport in Detroit is actually pretty nice. It's a pretty nice airport. Yeah, I mean, they're all similar, but
yeah.
What's the sketchiest airport you've ever been in?
Atlanta.
Oh, really? ATL, huh?
I thought it was pretty sketchy. And to be fair, I think they were in the middle of like renovations or something, but it was real dim, a lot of like open walls and stuff, drop ceilings that were exposed and that kind of a thing.
So just not well maintained.
Yeah, it was weird. Yeah.
I won't say it's like
weird.
the sketchiest airport, but the airport that I've been to that was like the weirdest like anti-airport was in Indiana. And I can't remember the name of it's a tiny little airport. I couldn't even believe that they landed like these airplanes there.
Yeah.
And they had 4 terminals. That's it.
Yeah.
4. You literally just got off the plane and the one terminal was next to you. The other 2 were on the other side. And there was like 2 metal detectors. And that was it. That was the whole airport.
How it was. I flew out of Long Beach. And that's how it was. It was tiny.
I know exactly what airport you're talking about.
Like had two X-ray machines and like the old school metal detector, and that was it. There's like maybe six exits, and I'm pretty sure I had to walk out on the tarmac.
I know exactly which. Yeah, I know exactly which airport you're talking about. Damn it!
That was like a little weird.
Is it in Palm Springs or
something like? Here, I was Long Beach Airport.
Yeah, I want to see.
Because I come to find out, I could have flown into this one instead of LAX because
that's what I did.
I was at TwitchCon in Long Beach.
That's exactly. We flew into the same airport, dude. Yeah, that's exactly what I did for TwitchCon.
I flew into LAX and had to take a fucking $100 taxi to get to Long Beach. But yeah, it was the Long Beach Airport. LGB is the one I left from.
Oh, maybe that isn't the one I did. I think I came out of a similar airport that was tiny. I think it was like I think it's Palm Springs Airport.
Maybe you're right.
That one called John Wayne. That's what it is, John Wayne.
I think that may have been it because I'm looking at pictures of Long Beach Airport and that ain't right.
Yeah, it's like you go in and there's like one TSA guy that like everybody goes through. You walk through the front doors, you go up some steps. There's like one TSA guy, and then there's like 4 terminals, and they look like portables.
And even these pictures look nicer than what I remember this airport being. Like this is not what I remember of this airport. Yeah, it's like an escalator. No, there was no escalator at the place I left from. So maybe it was even some other one, but
it might have been. Well, I don't remember there being an escalator in the one I went to. I remember walking up steps.
Unless they rebuilt this or something like this, what these pictures are showing. That's weird. Huh.
Yeah, that was a tiny little airport. I remember that. And they had a bar too. That was all they had. They didn't have like a restaurant. It was just a bar. That was it. Fun. You walked in, you go up steps, you go through security checkpoint, and then there's just a bar, and it looks like a bunch of like portables. That's bizarre.
Yeah.
But it was just weird because it was like when you pull up to the airport, it's all like, because I remember it was like in Palm Springs or something. There's like, palm trees and really nice roads and really nice houses and everything. And you pull in this like tiny little like airport that they're launching 737s out of,
Jeez.
It's like, wow, this is pretty freaking crazy. Well, here, let's jump onto the other two topics before we wrap today. So nuclear fusion with lasers.
Yeah,
this is actually
I'm
pretty
stoked
cool
for this
stuff.
one. Where did I put the link for that?
Grab that. So the juxt of this is everybody's trying to figure out like fusion, right? We got fission figured out. We know how to get like we know how to get like radioactive heavy metals to decay and create lots of heat, right?
Yeah, but that's still just boiling water. Like that's still all we're doing.
Well, I mean, that's all we're gonna do with fusion too. Fusion, we're still gonna boil water with the end result. Like, there's no way to get electricity. We haven't figured out a way to efficiently get electricity aside from boiling water from something that just generates a lot of heat. That's all this does. It's energy in the form of heat, right? So basically, we already got it figured out how to break the metals down, but that creates a crap load of radiation, right? So we end up creating more radioactive like particles and exotic particles, and then we end up getting it so hot that we can't even use it to its full potential, and then we have to let that cool down and bury it for thousands of years. But with fusion, you're putting things together. You're taking things like light elements like helium and stuff like that and crushing them together and making them into bigger, heavier elements. And you can stop whenever you want. You don't have to keep going until the elements are like exotic and scary and heavy and going to kill us all.
No, like it takes effort. You have to continue the process, or otherwise it just fizzles out.
Yeah, but that's the problem. And that also is like the thing that's the biggest problem that makes it hard to do is also the thing that makes it so safe.
Yeah.
So in order for fusion to work, like Aux said, you have to put power in, right? As soon as you take the power away, the fusion just stops. It doesn't run away. Whereas with fission, the more that it happens, it creates a chain reaction, right? You don't want that. So with fusion, it's like you do have to feed in a fuel of some kind, right? And when you start the reaction, it generates enough heat from the reaction that it can continue the fusion. And then you siphon off the delta, right? You take off the extra energy that you're getting from the reaction and then leave in the rest, so it's 100% to continue the reaction. Well, the closest they've come to this is like with like the eater type reactors, where they just create magnetic confinement. They generate a plasma that's so hot that it burn through anything, right? And they basically use this magnetic confinement to basically hold it in a like a donut pattern.
Plasma, they got to keep that because if it touches the walls, it's going to melt. It'll
vaporize it. Yeah, anything like beryllium would just vaporize that gas or a plasma. It's crazy hot. So that's what they're working on right now, as far as like what they think our first power plant will be sometime in the next like 50 years. They think that this will be generating power. And they think that it'll be demonstrated as actually like working and generating excess energy, not enough to really practically use for the money, but they think that that'll be happening as early as what, like I think it was like 2025 or something. That's not that far off the proof of concept. Yeah. But there's another, go ahead.
This is a huge step in the proof of it. This was a really, really big
Tokamak reactor. Sorry, that's what eater is. A Tokamak. That's what they call them.
Yeah. So this one is really kind of amazing because they reached where is it here? Because the idea, I think I may have missed it, but the idea is to get to a point of ignition where so you beam the lasers, bzzzt, the hydrogen pellet essentially catches on fire. I mean, this is kind of simplifying it, but it like using one of those blue lasers to light a match, right?
Yeah.
Bzzz, laser the match ignites. So in this example, the match is the hydrogen pellet. The hydrogen pellet ignites. You can turn the laser off and just keep feeding hydrogen at it, and it'll continue. That's the goal. And it's like 190 of the world's most powerful lasers all focused in from different directions on the single point. Yeah. It's super close because they got it says here, an experiment carried out on the 8th of August yielded 1.35 megajoules of energy, around 70% of the laser energy delivered to the fuel capsule. Reaching ignition means getting a fusion yield that's greater than the 1.9 megajoules put in by the laser. Yeah. So 70% is still, that's amazing. Like, that's a humongous step forward. I like though that the scientist guy that they're talking to, he says, where is it? Something about, he goes, Professor Chittenden explained the megajoule of energy released in the experiment is indeed impressive in fusion terms, but in practice, this is the equivalent to the energy required to boil a kettle. So they were
Yeah,
able
but
to make a pot of
emanating
tea.
from like a tiny little pellet. So it's
Yeah.
still pretty impressive. Like you wouldn't be
Yeah.
able to find a pellet that size that would burn and generate enough heat to boil that
Yeah, I
kettle,
wonder.
like in that density.
I wonder if we can dig a little deeper. I'm curious to know just like how much, like how big of a are we talking here?
It has to be a tiny amount. Like
Well, right,
if they're
right.
focusing all those lasers from 190 things down onto a single point, it's got to be like an itty bitty little sumbitch.
Yeah.
So, but the idea being here is if the lasers can keep enough pressure, basically, because they're like the lasers are producing heat and pressure. So those are the
Right.
two things that's
Isn't
doing
that a
it. If you
trip?
don't, it'll just dissipate and you'll stop the reaction, right?
Right.
So they're like pushing in, but they can't figure out how to get it past like the initial thing, right? They fire, they blow it up, and then once it comes out of its pellet form, which is confining the hydrogen or whatever, and it squeezes out basically, then they can't keep the reaction going. So they need to figure out how to keep that hydrogen compressed and in that little spot, but they know that they have enough energy to cause it to transition into fusion, like it's actually fusing. So
right.
So
we're able to. So essentially, we're able to light the match.
Yeah,
we haven't gotten to a point yet where the match stays lit. Like all we're doing is just burning off the coating of the match, and then it dies.
Yeah,
so we're not getting more out of it than we're putting in.
Right, and I think the Tokamak is our better shot at like producing energy. But if we could do this with lasers and stuff, like you're not going to put a Tokamak reactor on a freaking starship. Like you're not. They're massive. They're absolutely freaking massive, and the technology needed to run them, and the power needed to run them to start them up to get that magnetic confinement. It's like insane. Like you almost need a nuclear power plant to like start the Tokamak. So it's like they have to store up a lot of power to kick it.
Earlier, a few episodes back, we talked about a different fusion reactor. So this one's using like lasers and stuff. There was another one I remember we were talking about where it was like a pulsed thing where they were maybe it's still lasers. I can't remember exactly, but it was they were blasting the stuff and it produced a pulse that was next to a bunch of essentially superconducting coils or something like that, and it was the pulse. It was that pulse was generating an electromagnetic field that was then, of course, being turned into electricity because of they got copper coils nearby. And that one was like it's a different angle to take on it. And I think I found a similar. It's not the same article that we had all those episodes ago, but they're talking about a stellarator is a similar principle to the Tokamak. They've long been dark horses in fusion energy research because Tokamaks are better at keeping the gas trapped and holding into the heat needed, blah, 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 to keep reactions ticking. Blah, blah, blah. They got this, it's like a weird Taurus sort of thing. So they're talking about a W7X could mark a turning point, blah, blah, blah. Max Planck Institute for Physics.
There's a bunch of different fusion reactor concepts because there's a YouTube channel that goes through each and every one of them. There's some that are small. They're trying to create like small scale reactors, even though they haven't even created a large scale one that works yet.
Yeah.
Well, I shouldn't say that works. I mean, they did have a sustained
not
reaction of like 30 seconds, but it wasn't like usable.
Yeah.
So they have to get to the point where not only is the reaction sustained, but they're actually able to get the heat off of it successfully and use it for something.
Right.
And they're not near there. But everything that I've heard about the Tokamak reactor, this ITER reactor, and ITER's not the only one. There's a couple other Tokamak reactors that are in development too, but they think that that's the first one that's going to show real promise and prove the whole thing. That's like the Large Hadron Collider of energy, right? So once that thing comes online and they test it, they already think that there's like going to be a high degree of success but the amount of technology that went into building this thing, it's like we've never built anything in like humankind history that even approaches the complexity of this thing. Like the Large Hadron Collider is a joke compared to this thing. So that's why it's taken so damn long and so much money to build this thing. And the magnets, the amount of power that's needed to create the magnetic field that holds that high energy plasma when they get the reaction started is insane. Like the amount of energy they have to store to kick it. So it's like they need entire buildings full of capacitor banks that charge off of the grid for like days,
right,
to give that jolt of energy just to start the spark, to basically like kick the plasma and start it. And then if it goes out, they basically have to store all that energy again and kick it again. So this is not going to be a fast process. It's going to take them a while before they kick. But then once they kick it, if they keep it fed, then it generates that overwhelmingly massive energy requirement that it needs to sustain. And then you can start tapping energy off of it. But the energy to kick it is insane. Like to give you an idea, a nuclear reactor, like a regular one that we use today, that just has a cooling pool and a fuel bundle, right? it takes the equivalent of, I think, 300 watts. So it's something like 300 watts of energy is all you need to basically create the neutron bombardment that starts the reaction.
Sure.
And then it starts heating up on its own. And then the only way to slow it down is to put something in that absorbs those neutrons. Like at that point, it's lit. The fire's going. You have to put it out by dumping water on it, so to speak. Actually, you can't dump water on it because it'll just vaporize and turn to explosive gas, as we learned with Chernobyl. But you put the inhibitor in it, and it slows it down like a sponge that sucks up the neutrons. So with a fusion reactor, it's like you got to put in, like, I don't know how much it is exactly, but it's a shit ton. It's like you need another power plant to basically kickstart and light this one. But once it's lit, the cool thing about it is if anything goes wrong at all, even if it breaches its containment, even if for whatever reason one of the magnets fails and it blows a hole out the side of the reactor, which it could do. I mean, it's literally like, many times the temperature of the sun in this thing. So if the magnets let this plasma so much as graze the wall, it'll just vaporize it like it wasn't even there. But if that happens, it blows out the magnetic confinement and everything just instantly cools down.
And that loss of containment is negated with these what is it again, the stellarator, because the way that the field comes entirely from external coils, which don't need to be pulsed. And there's like, the design of this thing is a trip. It's got like, it's a donut shape, but like it's got like twists to it so that the flow is smoother, so that like these free ions don't bump into the edges and stuff. It's a trip.
Eater is the same layout. But the problem is it's electromagnets that they have to use because there's no rare earth magnet that's strong enough to confine plasma.
Damn.
So they have to use electromagnets. But I wonder how that one works. I wonder if they figured out a way to do it where you're always going to lose. I mean, if a magnet fails or a wire blows up or something, some redundant system fails, you're going to lose containment. Like there's no way it's going to, because that's the whole point, right? Like if you're not keeping that magnetic field perfect, it's going to pop out. But the thing is, it's not going to be like a nuclear explosion. It's not going to be a chain reaction that instantly creates a massive nuclear explosion. What it's going to do is that plasma is just going to instantly cool down. And once it cools down to a certain point, there's such a delta, it's like spraying liquid nitrogen on something. It's just instantly going to cool down when it comes into contact with the air, and nothing's going to happen. I mean, it's just going to blow out like a hole or burn a hole. It won't even blow. I don't even think it'll explode. I think it just burns a hole. That's it. And it's done.
I think that's part of like a big benefit to the fusion reactions is that they can't run away. Like a big scary thing with the way we do we've used to do nuclear power in the past, because nobody's building new nukes anymore, or a few, but regardless, is that the reaction can get out of hand. Like the whole setup of a nuclear reactor is to keep the degradation of the nuclear material from getting out of hand. Like you start the reaction and the uranium starts breaking apart, but the whole setup is to keep that contained, is to keep it from melting down. And so if something goes wrong in the control system, then that's how you get 3 Mile Island and shit like that. The other stuff, the fusion thing, if you stop feeding it fuel, it just stops. It's not gonna just grow out of hand, and now suddenly the Earth becomes a tiny sun for half a second, and then we're gone. Like if you stop feeding it fuel, it just stops. And I mean, as these experiments are showing, we can get the reaction started. We can't keep it going.
Yeah, it's like trying to balance, a grain of rice on the tip of a needle, right? It's like you have to do a lot of shit to keep it there. And if anything fails, like you stop moving, the wind picks up, you stop putting any kind of energy, it just falls off. Like there's no way for it to self-sustain. And which makes it really good, but it also sucks because like if the fire goes out, it's like, how do you start it again? You better have a way to store up a lot of electricity. Because like, what would you do if you're in space, right? Let's say that it works and you have fission in space. Where are you going to get the energy? Like the amount of solar panels that you would need and the amount of energy storage that you would need and capacitors to store enough to kick that fission to start it would be astronomically huge and impractical.
Well, and that's where I disappeared.
Uh-oh, what happened? Are you still there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still here. Yeah, but
that's weird. On stream, you just okay. Hold on. No, are you back?
No,
hold on.
Hang on,
it shows you're back. Here, let me go look at the controller.
I don't see anything in Ninja. Is all. I went black.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna push the fix you button.
The rainbow puke button.
Where's the rainbow? Let me find it here. Rainbow puke fix. Let me try that.
Am I still on the YouTube though?
Okay, it says. I mean, they hear you.
But yeah, but my video is
Yeah, your video's
disappeared.
frozen. Why? Here, let me see if I can turn off your camera and turn it back on. Here, hold on.
Oh, there you go.
oh.
I refreshed my own.
There you go.
connection.
You're good.
Oh, that was
You're
weird.
good. Man, you can hold really still, man. I'm quite impressed with that. I noticed somebody in chat said that Chernobyl wasn't the water that went boom. That was Fukushima. Chernobyl actually was a water-related explosion because remember, it flashed off the pool because it overheated. And that flash of the water created steam, which blew the graphite out in the top of the building. So I mean, technically, that's still water, right? I mean, and then because there's no water there to cool it, then it just ran away, right? You can't cool it down anymore. And that's
super cool stuff.
That's the biggest problem that they run into with like designing a nuclear reactor is once the reaction runs away, it's not going to blow up like a nuclear bomb. That's not really how it works, right? Because you're not compressing the fuel. You're just creating a chain reaction. But what the chain reaction does, the heat gets so hot that it will not just boil the pool of water that's cooling it. It will get it to the point where it flashes the steam instantly.
Yeah.
And when it flashes the steam instantly, that amount of pressure that it creates, it's really difficult to relieve that. So something's going to give, right? Steam is an incredibly powerful force. And then the other problem that you run into is once it transitions the steam that's close to the fuel rods, as hot as they get, you can run the chance of creating electrolysis and separating out the hydrogen and the oxygen.
Yeah.
And then you can create a secondary explosion from the fuel and the gas, right? So there's basically, if you don't slow the nuclear reaction down, it just keeps getting more and more and more intense. And everything around it ends up becoming fuel of some nature. So, and once it gets so hot, you can't cool it down, right? That's the problem. Like, why is Chernobyl still burning, right? It will be burning for like ever and ever and ever and be this massive, hot, radioactive mess. It's because you can't cool it down. It's like the reaction is so far ran away. The bundle's melted, so there's no way, like short of going in and drilling holes into the mass and lowering in, what is it, the beryllium pellets or whatever, the neutron absorber?
Oh,
which
yeah.
you die if you did that, right? I mean, and can you even get a robot like close enough to it to do that work?
I don't think so.
I don't think you could. I think it would just eventually, like, it would just erode the robot away, like just from the radiation. So, because they would have done it, right? If they could have gone in and just drilled a bunch of holes every 1 inch, dropped in neutron absorber to slow down the reaction and pull all the heat out of it, it would still be radioactive as hell, but it would cool down. It would start the process of cooling. I think I'm pretty sure that's how it works. So
nuclear plants are just fancy steam engines. All electricity generation is fancy steam engines. Well, outside of, I suppose, hydro, because that's just gravity rotating and
solar
the turbines.
Solar, we figured out how to get electrons directly from photons. So
yeah.
So, but no, anything that's heat, anything that starts as heat,
coal,
water is the intermediary.
Coal power plants, oil power plants, everything nuclear. Yeah, we're all still just oiling water.
They're all
to
kettles,
turn a turbine.
They're all kettles. The only difference between a natural gas power plant, a coal power plant, and a nuclear power plant is literally where the heat comes from. That's it.
The fuel. That's it.
That's it. The rest of the plant is exactly the same. The turbines, the heat exchangers, even the cooling stacks. Everybody sees those iconic cooling stacks and go, "Oh my god, that's a nuclear power plant." No, coal power plants use cooling stacks.
Sure.
Natural gas cooling plants will use cooling stacks if they're big enough. And that's why you see steam coming out of them, right? It's literally giant pools of the steam is just off gassing and going through, and it's channeling it up and creating like a venturi to suck air from the bottom, pull that steam out through the top, and get that heat off the pool. That's all it is, just giant radiators. That's all they are. So I used to think when I was a kid driving around, anytime I saw those anywhere, I always thought, oh my God, that's a nuclear power plant, because that's what we saw on TV, right? But no, it's not. They use cooling stacks for like all kinds of shit. They even use them in like, industrial stuff where they just use a lot of heat for like running forges and stuff like that. They'll have cooling pools and stacks. Maybe not as big, but they definitely use them. The reason why nuclear power plants have so many of them, though, and they're so big, is because in a nuclear power plant, you have to get the heat off the water. Otherwise, it'll flash the steam. So if you don't have that big pool and that big surface area to pull that heat off really quick from the water, and the water gets too hot, then you're not going to exchange any more heat from the pool. And that means you're going to have to slow down your reaction, because you're going to flash off the pool if you don't. And if you slow down your reaction, then that's going to be less efficient to turn your turbines. So it's a constant balance. It's like literally all a nuclear power plant is a computer going, do I insert the rods more or do I pull them out more? That's pretty much it. The entire nuclear reaction is just a bunch of rods on a servo. They go, okay, pull it out a little more. Okay, put it in a little more. Pull it out a little more. Put in a little more to maintain a constant temperature. That's pretty much, or also determining what the power requirements are. So like if it's a high power requirement time and they need more heat in the water because they need to turn more turbines faster, then they can do that. They can just pull the rods out and it'll go faster. If it's getting too hot and it hits danger zone, they just push the rods in, it slows it right back down. It's almost instantaneous. So it's really cool to watch. There's actually videos on YouTube. Just do a search for nuclear reactor startup and shutdown. And there's like 8 or so really cool videos of them doing this with both power generating reactors and neutron generating reactors, which the only difference is like what they do with them, right? I mean, the power generators, they have a big pool with the fuel bundle in it and they pull the hot water off and use it for steam. Yeah. And the other reactors, usually they're a sealed reactor that they're using it to create neutrons. They're creating like a really hot fuel just for creating neutrons, then using the neutrons to turn other materials into other materials. Like it's cool shit. It's really cool shit. It fascinates really cool the hell out of me.
Yeah.
But it's funny because everybody thinks it's like this super complicated thing. And it's not. Like some dipshit in his backyard like created a breeder reactor that like, you know, almost killed all his neighbors. You know, it's like go look at what is it, the nuclear Boy Scout or whatever.
Yeah.
That's my God, that guy has a really tragic life, unfortunately. The story ends really, really badly, but the dude literally found enough like radioactive material that he was able to refine it into tritium, and he was able to use the tritium
from smoke detectors.
Yep. And he actually got in trouble later after this, years later in the future, he got caught stealing smoke detectors again, and they went after him again because they were keeping an eye on him. So they think he was going to build another reactor. He never did, though. But he was doing the smoke detector thing. But what he was doing is he's taking the compound out of the smoke detector, and then he's doing some chemical process that you could do in your basement. Super dangerous, by the way, to convert it into tritium. And then he took the tritium, mixed it with something else, and made cubes out of it with aluminum foil, and then literally just stacked the cubes around a neutron source. And it grew. I mean, it never got like super, it got radioactive hot, but it never got like really hot. It wasn't like it was like melting down or burning.
No, but it was enough that like, I think that's how he got caught. It was enough that some sensors or whatever from like a local university, I think, were starting to trip off. Like there's this random spike of like radioactive energy coming from this backyard somewhere.
Dude, it's actually
look into it. It's really freaking neat.
No. It's even dumber than that. So he literally got caught because of just a stupid thing he did. And so check this out. So this is because I just watched it, so it's fresh in my mind.
Cool.
So what happened was nobody caught him. Because nobody back then had nobody just had like Geiger counters in their house, right? Yeah. So and back then we didn't have like you know satellites monitoring for that level of radiation in like a residential area. So nowadays he'd be picked up immediately. But what happened was he bought a Geiger counter and he was getting further and further away from the shed and picking up radiation. Oh. And so by like day 10 or whatever, he's standing like 3 blocks away from his house and he's picking up radiation on his detector. So he panicked and he's like, I got to load up this reactor and take it out somewhere and bury it and disassemble it because it's, it's way too hot. Like he's like, I fucked up. He realized at this point. So he goes back to the shed and literally like with his bare hands, the dude like tears the reactor apart when it's putting out like, not like it wasn't lethal doses, but it's like you would have got cancer eventually if you stood next to this thing. So he's loading it into his car. One of his neighbors saw him out there with his Geiger counter walking around every day. So she called somebody and said, oh, some kid's walking around here with a thing going click, 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 click. And the government's like, oh shit, Spidey sense. And so they send the cops over to his house and they literally pull up on him as he's loading shit into the trunk of his car. So they said they walked up to the trunk of the car and they were asking him what he was doing. And the first thing he said to the officers is, please don't touch anything in the trunk. It's dangerous. He said that to the cops. And so the cops immediately were like, oh shit, we better investigate. So they took him into custody and searched the car. And they're like, okay, we don't know. Is this a bomb? Like, what is this? Yeah. What's, and he wasn't really telling them like what was going on. So I think at that point, the Nuclear Regulatory Commission got involved. And actually, never mind. I think he did tell them it was radioactive, and they were like, no, you're full of shit, like whatever. But no, he convinced them enough that they had to call in a cleanup team. And then the cleanup team realized that, oh shit, the whole shed's contaminated, the fence is contaminated, the earth is contaminated. I mean, they brought out like an entire like cleanup crew to like load. I
remember hearing that. Like it was like a disaster area kind of thing. Like they had to seriously come to fix it. Like it was a big deal.
Yeah, it was actually a pretty big, lengthy cleanup effort that I think lasted like over a year. Like there was like a year's worth of them like still finding shit. And cataloging it and storing it, and ultimately he got in trouble for it, but not like too much trouble. And then like he was basically forbidden to ever do any more nuclear experiments after that. But then later on, and he had like blisters and bruises and Like, I mean, this radiation was kicking his ass. Like,
Oh,
it definitely fucked him up. This
yeah,
reactor.
you don't walk away from that without something.
Yeah, but then later on, he started collecting detectors again later in life, and I believe he committed suicide. I think that's what they said on the show, is that he eventually committed suicide because he just had so many problems, and he had depression, but he was also in the military. Like, his parents actually put him in the military because they got sick of him blowing up shit in their basement, because he was doing science all the time, and he was like destroying the house. So they're like, all right, we're just gonna send our kid to the military.
He died in 2016.
Yeah, it was pretty recent. Yeah, it wasn't long ago.
Yeah,
But I think he committed suicide in the end. But I remember
accidental result intoxication from the combined effects of alcohol, diphenhydramine, and fentanyl.
Oh, okay. So he just OD'd. All right. So, oh my God, though. Yeah, he had a really rough life, though. Like, the problem was, after he created that reactor, like, everybody in the world knew who he was.
Yeah.
So there really wasn't much he could do after that to like atone for it, and it really fucked him up psychologically. So, and even his family said that he was not the same after that. Like, how could you be, right, if everybody knew you as a guy? Because the story keeps getting blown out of proportion, like, to where, people are like, oh, this guy built a nuclear bomb in his backyard. And then you got like the Manhattan Project movie, where it's like, oh, the kid that built a bomb is like a science experiment. That actually did happen, but nobody said that bomb was like anywhere close to capable of actual like fission. Like, it would have been a dirty bomb, like, at best. But that actually did happen.
Even
then,
then,
never saw the movie Manhattan Project. It's a really good movie. You should watch it. It's actually a clever movie. But yeah, some kid literally built I wouldn't say functional. There's a lot of people say it was functional, but the experts were like, no, this thing would have just blown up and just kicked radioactive shit all over the place.
There's enough publicly available information that if one was motivated enough, you could potentially build your own small atomic bomb.
Yeah,
that is a thing that the FBI has investigated a few times. Like, it is possible, given the available information, that you could. It's not a huge leap in engineering. It's an acquisition of materials. That's the tough part. It is not like, if you can look at like a cross section of how the old school atom bomb works, and we're talking, that's different from what we use now, the thermonuclear style.
Yeah,
it's kind of silly. It's silly how kind of like brain dead simple the old atomic bombs are. You have one explosion. You have one explosion that launches some material at your plutonium ball, and then the reaction just goes out of hand.
Yeah, the hardest part about building a nuclear bomb is obtaining the purified uranium-238.
Yeah.
So if you can get a hold of the 238, you can build the old style bomb, which is what do they call it? It's like something like a bullet.
Yeah,
where instead of you don't create a spherical explosion. Instead, you basically just launch a bullet into like a bead of the material, and it compresses it enough that it fissions.
The old school atom bombs, not thermonuclear.
Yeah, if you want the thermonuclear bomb, then you have to have the freaking like perfect helix that compresses a ball, like a sizable ball too, like a lot more material.
Oh yeah, it's like the size of a grapefruit.
Yeah, it's pretty big. So, but yeah,
that's some cool stuff.
And if they said that building that helix, like that explosive helix to decompress the material, is almost as difficult as refining the material to begin with, which requires like thousands of centrifuges and a lot of time. So, but yeah, no, I watched the thing where they were like, that helix has to be so, and that's why they didn't think that the bomb that the kid built for the science experiment was going to actually go, is one, his material wasn't pure enough. The material he got was literally from a nuclear power plant, and it wasn't 238. And the other thing is his shape charge that he built around the sphere to compress it was not nearly perfect enough. So when it exploded, it would have just popped out one side. It would have pushed the material through instead of compressing it. And so, I mean, it still would have like probably put a shitload of like, dirty bomb radiation spread all over the place, but it wouldn't have been like an actual like freaking mushroom cloud nuclear explosion. So those are actually pretty damn hard to achieve.
Neat.
But it is funny. You're literally just compressing something. It's like that's all a nuclear explosion is. You're just forcing radioactive material together so tight that it's so close. It's so close together when it doesn't want to be, that every single time it shoots off a neutron or electron or whatever, it hits the next one and breaks it up. You know, it's like that's all you're doing is you're just trying to create an environment where it's like all these things that don't want to be close to each other. You're basically forcing them to be close to each other.
Yeah.
And then they basically are like, okay, well, since we're all close to each other and we all want to like steal each other's shit. Or actually it's not steal each other's shit, it's break it apart. That's fission. Fusion is like we want to steal each other's shit.
Yeah.
And then you start basically having materials get heavier and heavier and heavier because they start picking up material versus expending it. I think that's a good like analogy is you're basically adding things in instead of taking away. So instead of turning a really heavy element like uranium into a lighter element, you're taking a lighter element and turning it into a heavier element. So they kind of complement each other. If you could create a nuclear reactor that did both fission and fusion in the same nuclear reactor, you could use the fission to generate the power and the heat to feed the fusion, and then the fusion would break those heavy metals down that are super dangerous back into simple shit like hydrogen to feed back to the fusion reactor again. So I guess you could, in theory, just have the two just like, I mean, it wouldn't be perpetual motion or anything. You'd still have a loss in heat. But you could theoretically just have one recycling the shit from the other continuously back and forth. That'd be interesting, right?
Yeah.
Like just create heavy metals until, because that's what they said the fusion reactor, that's what they have to worry, or sorry, the fusion reactor, that's what they have to worry about is when you're fusing helium and stuff, you're creating heavier elements. And once you get to a certain element, you're creating dangerous shit, right? Like you start creating and you're creating exotic particles. So you have to like be careful because once you get to that point, it's like, how do you get rid of that? Because that's another thing. You have to figure out how to like almost centrifuge those things off or let them fall out of suspension, which I think the Tokamak does, because you don't want heavier metals to continue fusing together because then you're just going to get heavier and heavier metals. But I think the nature of this whole thing is once they get to a certain weight, they basically fall out of the plasma, like they're no longer in suspension.
We were talking about this, I think, before the stream. I don't think these sort of reactors can fuse anything heavier than iron.
Right, and that makes them safe, right? I mean, that's another thing.
If that's even the like, I can't imagine it would get anything really past like. I mean, I don't know my periodic table that well, so I couldn't really say. But I doubt it. I doubt it would even. Right? Yeah, I don't even think it would even get to that heavy.
Like you're not going to fuse uranium particles together because they're just too damn heavy, right? The amount of energy that you need to like fuse them.
Takes supernova level to get uranium to make it from nothing. You need suns exploding.
That makes sense because that's why you have to continuously feed it hydrogen or whatever. Because if you don't,
you can't. You need supernovas for that. Dude, I think anything past iron isn't enough. That's like as dense as you can get without supernovas. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure.
But God, if we're creating like 100 times the pressure of the sun and we have lasers that can compress shit, who knows? We might actually get there. Right? How cool would that be though if we made a nuclear reactor that just shit out gold? Like literally it just fuses the material, and then once it gets to lead and then it gets to gold, it just falls out of suspension, and then you collect it. And you basically just have a reactor where you're just pumping in like fucking abundant hydrogen, and it's just shitting out gold dust basically.
Damn it, I wish I had. There's got to be an interactive periodic table where I can just hover over them and they tell me.
Dude, that's if that ever happened, oh my God, dude, all the people that like bought gold and stuff, because it's like, the funny thing is gold isn't even a rare element. It's just, it's hard for it to come to the surface because it's so damn heavy.
I bet it wouldn't get anywhere past like lithium or beryllium, honestly.
Probably. And that's
definitely not past carbon, I would think.
Dude, lithium would be cool though, because then your byproduct would be what you need to make the batteries to store the energy. How cool would that be?
Yeah. So Christian Nonkin here, he says iron's the final thing a sun can make. And that's just from gravity. That's just like
the pressure from the gravity,
and that's as dense as it can get, and that is, where is it?
And that's why fusion is so hard here, is because we have to artificially generate that pressure and heat, whereas the sun, it's literally just gravity doing it. So that's it's literally just gravity and hydrogen, right? Just like fusing, and then all the heavy elements fall to the center and make a denser mass, which makes it even a stronger gravity because you're fusing the light elements into heavier elements. So it's like the sun is basically just a big gravity ball that just keeps getting heavier and heavier, really.
Yeah.
So, and eventually it's going to expand, right? So it's getting heavier and heavier, and it's expanding because the elements on the outside are becoming less abundant, the gases, right?
Well,
so
like I think as it it burns out, so it goes to hydrogen, helium becomes lithium becomes beryllium, and so on. And it starts expanding and expanding from there, because it's all of that heavier stuff starts falling towards the center. That density starts crushing itself down, and then on and on and on.
So if we can figure out how to do artificial gravity, we could just get fission. Like it's just a byproduct of that if it was strong enough.
And that's
fusion.
Gravity is not like a thing, right? Gravity is not a material. It's not
right. It's what do they say? It's
an effect of density and mass. So our anti-gravity is going to be magnetism. They've done plenty of experiments of floating things just using a strong enough magnetic field.
Wow.
Yeah,
so at certain magnetic strengths. So are you saying that like everything will react to magnetism at a sufficiently like high strength?
Yeah, they've floated spiders and strawberries and stuff in it's like a space probably about like that big. And at the center of a bunch, I don't know if it's one big electromagnet or a whole bunch of them or whatever, but yeah, they'll like you can see a spider.
Dude, that's kind of like fucking rip like the iron out of your blood or the potassium out of your blood, like
magnet.
I can't even imagine, dude. Like to lift a human with that, like you'd probably just like pull all of the iron and potassium like out of them. They'd just be dead.
Okay. Oh, now I'm getting a bunch of stuff of how spiders float on electric fields with their things. Okay, how about strawberry?
Oh, Space Monkey, thank you for the 100 rupees. Said, man, driving in India has a bigger pucker factor than anything you've ever experienced. Drive in India and you shall never be afraid again.
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
JP, thank you for the 10 pounds. He said, missed the start, so I'm going to drop support and then rewind the VOD to the start. Hey, man, enjoy the show. We already did.
That's a 10-second clip of a strawberry floating in an electromagnetic field.
I want to see this.
And then the link that they have doesn't work. The link in that video doesn't work. But that same experiment, I've seen more of that footage, and from further back too. Like this is super zoomed in, but the same. I imagine it's the same experiment. They were floating spiders, water. You can see them squirt like a little bit of water, and it and just floats there.
Oh, here I found the actual link here. There you go.
Oh, did I?
So that thing's
that's the strawberry.
Magnetism?
I must have copied it bad. But that same experiment, though, they were floating all kinds of different stuff.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I thought that there was a lot of stuff that doesn't react to magnetism, but it doesn't react noticeably to normal magnetism.
Like, yeah, not even like, I mean, it's a strawberry, right? Non-ferrous materials. Like, yeah.
Or at least just a tiny. I mean, I'd imagine just like us, the strawberry probably has like a certain amount of iron in it. It's probably just so minuscule that you need like an insane force to move it.
Oh, here we go. Diamagnetic levitation. Here we go. There's a. Oh, whoops. I clicked.
And it has the potential to work on anything.
Yeah. There's pictures of of a tiny frog. There's like a cricket.
That's like alive.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I gotta see this. Hold on here.
So, blah blah blah.
Links in chat, guys.
If you place an atom in a magnetic field or large piece of matter containing billions and billions of electrons doing their circles inside don't like this very much. They change their motion in the opposite direction. Gravity versus magnetic force. Magnets push each other away if you try to bring them together. Our magnets create a very large magnetic field, about 100 to 1,000 times larger than a household magnet. In this field, all the atoms inside the frog act as very small magnets, creating a small field. You may say that the frog is now built up of these tiny magnets, your atoms, essentially, all of which are being repelled by the large magnet. The force, called the diamagnetic force, which is directed upward, appears to be strong enough to compensate for the force of gravity directed downwards that also acts on every single atom of the frog. So the frog's atoms do not feel any force at all, and the frog floats as if it were in a spacecraft.
So you're just like repelling the Earth's magnetic field at that point?
It's enough. It's the from what I understand from reading that the magnetic field is strong enough to push on your atoms enough to counteract the force of gravity.
Dude, that is freaking wild. That's some sci-fi stuff right there. Because think about that. If that was true and that worked, then it wouldn't pull the iron out of your blood because it's acting on all the atoms, not the metallics in you, right? And if it was pushing on every atom in your body, you would feel weightless, right? Because it wouldn't be like you're being held up like falling in a wind tunnel where your organs are still subject to gravity, but your body is getting hit by wind or whatever, right?
And
Like
it
you
might
would,
not
you would
work
be
on
weightless.
anything. It might not work on like all of the things that ever, because it says, it goes at the very bottom of this, it says will or will not levitate, the explanation for geeks, and then it goes on to a bunch of weird formulas that I don't understand.
Well, they're only levitating like small things, so I'd imagine it takes like an ungodly amount of power. Like
it's defined by the balance between the magnetic field force, which they describe, and gravity, which they describe, and then they go on to define the different letters and stuff in these formulae. The vertical field gradient required for levitation has to be larger than 2 molecular susceptibilities are typically 10 to the negative fifth for diamagnetics and 10 to the negative third for paramagnetic materials. And since because it's not a P, it's some Greek letter, is most often a few grams per centimeters cubed, their magnetic levitation requires field gradients around 1,000 to 10 T squared per meter, respectively. Yeah, see, I don't know what the fuck.
So what you're saying is we're getting hoverboards. Like we're one day going to get hoverboards. It's happening.
Yeah, it's
boy.
Yeah,
we just got to get more energy density. We got to get better energy storage than anything's possible, dude. That's crazy.
It's super cool stuff.
Like I like watching. What's the God? There's a guy really well known. You guys, God, why can't I remember any names today to save my life? On YouTube, I watch a guy who talks about futurism.
Mm-hmm.
He sounds like Yosemite Sam.
Michio Kaku?
No. That guy's awesome though. That guy's totally awesome. I know what you're talking about. He's in every documentary ever made. Yeah. No, Isaac Antonov, is that his name? I think it's Isaac Antonov. That sounds right. This guy, Isaac Arthur. That's what it is. Sorry, I was close. Isaac Arthur. Look him up. He sounds like he sounds like a Looney Tunes character, and he makes fun of himself for it sometimes. But the dude talks about some like really crazy shit, and this like futurism. And like one of his episodes, he's talking about like the potential of like traveling through space by doing the same thing that like planets do by like bending space time, like altering your mass to like travel by just creating a wave in front of you, of compression, and then behind you
with a strong enough magnetic field ahead of you. That is one of the angles that they're taking for like long-term space travel, not necessarily faster than light, but yeah, it's essentially you press down, you press on the fabric of space-time with a strong enough magnetic field that you're basically constantly falling forward.
Yeah. And he was talking about this, and the amount of energy required to do it is like they've computed it. Like it's like the theoretical energy needed to do it.
It is a sound concept. It is at least the math checks out from what
because Earth's doing it right now with its own gravitational pull. Earth does it. That's why you can literally change the time with like a satellite in orbit versus at sea level or whatever. You can get them out of sync. Because one is actually like bending time, right? Yeah. So if you could create a big enough magnetic field, you could, in theory, like you said, create a wave, right?
Yep.
You'd expand space behind you and compress it in front of you, and you would almost be sitting still in a way. You're almost like moving space through you, like a wave going through you in the ocean.
In a real way, I feel like I think that was part of it, because I think from the perspective of the vehicle, you're not actually like accelerating. You're moving, but you haven't like actually accelerated. I might be talking out of my ass at that point.
Well, I think he said that you wouldn't have a sensation of movement.
Yeah, that
like
might
because
be
there's no, it's like zero acceleration or something like that. Like you wouldn't even need like an inertia dampener, so to speak, like they do in Star Trek, because you're compressing the space in front of you.
Yeah.
And falling into it. It's like from your perspective, you're actually not moving very fast. It's like the space around you or something like that. It's bizarre.
In the same way that we don't feel the ridiculously high speed that the planet is moving.
Right. Oh yeah, because the planet's spinning at what? Like
not just the spin, but just the rotation around the sun even.
Or just the whole solar system moving through space relative to the center of the universe. Yeah.
Yeah.
I still can't figure that out to save my life, dude. If two things are traveling towards each other at light speed and they shine a light at each other, are the lights converging at faster than the speed of light?
Right.
And it's like there's a whole video Veritasium did on this, which is like we can never actually measure the speed of light. It always has to be theoretical.
Right.
because there's no way to actually measure it.
Well,
like
and-
literally the laws of everything or laws of our universe prevent you from actually accurately measuring the speed of light.
Yeah, because you can't
You can't do the round trip.
observe it.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
There's always some external thing fucking with it.
It would
that you
slow it
can't-
down. Just the act of looking at it wouldn't be. That's the
It's really
certainty
weird.
principle, right? The act of observation changes it. You can't know its velocity and location at the same time, because by bumping into it to look at it, you're changing one or the other.
That's so weird, man. It starts getting into that whole quantum mechanics shit of like space unfolding or whatever.
It's super cool.
Like so Newtons or what is it, quarks and gluons and like I don't know that shit. Like it's crazy because I remember when I was a kid and I was in school, it's like every talk about atom is the smallest thing, and it's like turns out atoms aren't even like remotely close to the smallest things. And then the things that we do know to be the smallest things right now, it's theorized that they're not even the smallest things. Like it's like, can you just go to infinity? Like as technology evolves, are we just going to find out that quarks are just fucking gigantic and they're just filled with entire universes of other elements that you can like zoom in on?
There is that's one of the theories about it is that like all of this is actually super tiny anyway, and this is all just like a blip in some larger cosmic something else.
At some point we're just going to be able to manipulate, we're going to understand everything down to its foundation level to the point where we just do everything looks like magic. Everybody's going to be running around like wizards and shit, like teleporting and creating suns and collapsing suns and creating and imperceivably from everything we think a god is capable of. Just everybody's going to be able to just do that out of the womb because of our epic understanding of the universe. You know what? It'll never happen because once we get to that level of understanding of the universe, the first thing two people are going to do is destroy everything. You know it.
It probably has happened.
It would totally happen. All right, guys. Well, it's 1 p.m. It's time to start wrapping up the old tech talk. We want to thank you guys for hanging out today. Also, everybody that super chatted. Hey, huge appreciated. We're hugely appreciative of that.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you for the subs. We do appreciate that. And we will be back again next week, Saturday, 10 a.m. That was great that David joined us, by the way. If you guys want to go back and rewatch the VOD, if you joined, David was here for like the first half of the show. It was awesome that he showed up for that. He's working on shooting movies and videos and stuff for like Apple TV and stuff. So he's all over the place doing shit. So the fact that he could like pop in today, that meant a lot. And that was really
Very
cool.
Nice.
And if you'd like to see us doing our shenanigans on our own during the week, I stream Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday at noon Pacific over on Twitch. And Mr. AuxxZillary streams whenever the hell he wants. And his links are down in the video description.
Yep.
That's how I've been kind of being the same lately.
Yeah.
And just fun fact, a hot tub stream's coming up over on Twitch here pretty soon because I am now a hot tub owner. Thank you, Adam. Love you a long time.
Whoop, whoop.
All right, guys, take it easy. And until next time, peace out.
Bye.
And I think